Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever saw. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I don't think I've ever said this before.
Okay, so episode 599, we have a special guest here with us, probably one of the most liked guys in the content creation. No, literally, like, I don't know anybody that doesn't like this guy. And I think everybody would agree with this. He's a cool cat. He likes cigars. He went to one of these, like, he's one of these Ivy League school, Yale, Italian, cigar.
There goes my likability. It's all gone now.
My likability.
Nah, but you're still cool with me, by the way.
It's great to have Michael Knowles here with us on the podcast. My man, it's great to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes, and are you a Yankees fan? Was that like a fan, or was it just you went to a game?
No, I'm a Yankee fan. You would not be surprised to find out I'm not the biggest sports guy in the entire world.
Yeah.
So I have channeled all of my enthusiasm that I could possibly have for sports into not only one sport, but one team for my entire life.
I like that. You're focused.
I'm very focused, and it's the Yankees. And I took my 4-year-old kid to his first major league game the other night. It was on Saturday night, where we lost to the Red Sox, but it was a very good game anyway. But I had this thought. I was like, can my kid make it? My kid goes to bed at 7:30 p.m. Can my kid make it until midnight or whatever it's going to? It was kind of a long game. And sure enough, I spaced out the hot dog, French fries, ice cream, whatever. And it was because it was exciting. We were up there. We were standing on the 4-train platform at 11:30 or something. It was great, man. It was awesome. Yeah.
I love it. The other day, I took Brooklyn to the first movie, and I said, Brooklyn, because Brooklyn's bribe is ice cream.
Oh.
I said, if you can sit still and watch this 2-hour movie, you'll get ice cream. She sat still, never went to the bathroom, locked in. She was great. We watched a movie. She came and jumped on top of me, was focused. Very impressed. Anyways, good to have you on. Guys, a lot of stories to go through. So let me kind of walk you through some of the stories that's going on. Obviously, LA, it's getting nastier and nastier and nastier. And Gavin Newsom is using this opportunity to start his 2028 presidential campaign. He will never let a crisis go to waste, and he's all over the place, blaming everything on Trump, showing how he's the greatest deflector of all time, showing the fact that he knows how to spin like no other. Like, this guy may be the greatest spinner of all time. If you ever saw Tim Hardaway do his move, or any of these guys,
The killer crossover.
zero, Newsom's crossover is the best in a game of politics. Spin zone, unbelievable. Very, he ought to be very proud of himself on the way he does certain things. But he's been called out left and right by a lot of different people. DeSantis got involved in the state of Florida. He responded back and said something where, hey, if somebody's coming out and protesting and riots and you're in your car, you have my permission to, run through them. I was like, what? The guy went from zero to gangster in a second, right? If they decide to do this in Florida. So, folks, I'm not telling you, I'm saying this. We'll play the clip so he can tell you himself. But California is a mess. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. The Pelosi reacted to things. Stories of Walmart's Kristi Walton, who's worth $19 to $20 billion, is funding a lot of these protests that they want to come to 1,500 cities on June 14th. That happens to be Trump's birthday, 250 years of U.S. Army's birthday, Flag Day, all of that at the same time. They want to make sure they humiliate the president. Another opportunity. All they're trying to do, in my opinion, is they're looking for their next George Floyd to cause mayhem in America right before the midterms. And that playbook's worked for them many years. They're just going to keep following up. Fetterman had certain things to say on LA. He says, Dems losing high ground with response. And then a blue city mayor vows no tolerance for anti-ICE violence as LA riots erupt. Unacceptable. You got to hear this guy. He should be running for governor in California. I think he is. He's a stud of a guy. Kristi Noem, LA is a city of criminals. Interesting. I don't know if the entire city's filled with criminals, but that's what she's saying. LA is a city of criminals. We'll show that clip. Donald Trump says U.S.-China deal done as two sides restore trade war truce. What that means, we don't know, but we'll definitely get into it. Arthur Laffer, okay, the Laffer curve, comes out and explains how Trump can create the best economy U.S. has ever had and beat Reagan's record. Now, you got to realize Laffer worked on as an economist advisor, I believe, for Ronald Reagan. So for him to say that, he's got the street cred to be able to say something like that. We'll show that. Elon Musk hints that all the explosive fallout with Trump last week may be cooling off after president wishes him well, and he says, hey, you deleted the tweet. Maybe I shouldn't have put that up. It's a lot of back and forth. It looks like, they're going back of being together again. We'll definitely cover that. Newsom slams Trump as stone cold liar over the phone call. Did he make the calls? Did he not make the calls? President Trump posted pictures of him making a call at 1:20 in the morning, a 16-minute call. People are coming back saying, I don't know. Well, that was June 7th. It wasn't June 10th. Anyways, it's a mess. Luigi Mangione, the killer of the CEO of United Healthcare, comes out on his birthday, and he writes out 27 things he's grateful for. I want to share with you what number 7 is. It's going to be a little bit weird when you read what number 7 is. When this was texted to me, I'm like, are you kidding me?
You're going to
Like,
bring that up.
I have to show it.
Yes,
What am I
okay.
going to do? We'll talk about it when it
Respect on
comes up.
addressing that.
We have to. It is what it is. Besant emerging as contender to succeed Fed's Powell. And Besant was asked, I believe, by a congressman, if I'm not mistaken, saying, so what happened there with the exchange with UN Musk, the punch and all that stuff that the rumors are being talked about. And he says, you must be reading a lot of Breitbart, is what he said. He kind of called him out, Besant did. And we got the guy that's going to give us all the insight. Michael knows us here. He knows it.
So in.
We have to find out what's going on here with this. And neocons reportedly trying to kill the Trump-Iran deal behind closed doors. Russia could strike NATO by 2030. Alliance called to boost airstrike. Mark Carney says Canada to hit NATO spending target this year. And NATO, watch this one here, folks. Tell me if this is going to piss off somebody that happens to live in this country that has a lot of land. Tell me, I don't know if you know that guy or not. NATO seeks to include Ukraine funds in new spending target. What the hell does that mean? Let me read it to you one more time. NATO seeks to include Ukraine funds in new spending target. Are you including them? I thought you said you would never include them. I thought I was part of a deal that you wouldn't do it because one guy didn't want to be a part of it. Maybe you're saying you don't listen to him. I don't know what's going on there. U.S. to pull some personnel from Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran. Some are saying shit's about to go down real quick, and everybody's planning on reacting to it. And we got a bunch of other stories that we'll get into if we got the time. Sean Hannity, Warhawks, led by podcaster Mark Levin, are pushing Trump to bomb Iran using misinformation to make the case. Report from The Independent. And then Iran claims without evidence that it took Israeli nuclear files. They're saying they took Israeli nuclear files. So, okay. And then we got some other things we'll talk about at the end if we got some time for NBA stats on the finals. Viewership, I can't believe Indiana won last game 2-1. It is what it is. Shocking. But anyways, this weekend is Flag Day, okay? And we're celebrating a lot of different things. And in the whole respect of Flag Day, we have some new merch. An item that I don't know what happened. We launch it at midnight, and we send an email to the people that are insiders that buy merch, and it's gone already. But we have some of it still that's left, the numbered stuff that we have. Here's a clip about what's about to come out, and the new hat that's out. I have a feeling some of you guys are going to lose your mind, and you're going to want it ASAP. So go ahead and play this clip, Rob. I love that shit. Show me the hat.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
It's a nice hat.
Limited edition,
Wow, that-
numbered hat. And these are the ones that comes in this box. It's numbered out of 250. And when you get it, there's a card inside with the hat here. I'm going to unwrap it. Chris said don't do it.
Chris
has got so
Too
many
late.
rules.
Sorry,
This guy,
Chris.
He's so creative. Creatives have a lot of
Yeah,
rules.
too late. Oh, that's
And
bad.
if you see
Chris.
this
teach him
hat
business
here,
next
look at
year.
this. That's right. It's going to happen eventually. Future looks bright on the side with the vitamin on the back,
What
and
number
Future
is
looks
that?
bright
Eric
here.
wrote that
This is not numbered.
Vinny,
This
it's
is
like
the
little Air
promo.
Force guys.
I love it.
Everything there is going to be numbered. That'll come out to you. And there's a lot of, Rob, if you can go on other items, this is limited out of 250. So this will go out in the next hour, but you got other gear that you have with the American flag on it. Represent it, sport it, go to work, your flip-flops, the hats, shirts, whatever may be. If you're proud to be an American and you love valuetainment and Future looks bright, go represent, put the gear on, and go to vtmerch.com and get your latest numbered Future looks bright hat. Rob, if you can put the link below, go to vtmerch.com. By the way, if you go on eBay right now, it's crazy what's going on with these numbered hats that people buy and post them on here. That one right there to the left is 1 out of 250 guys selling it for $10,000. The other one is 43 out of $53,000. These are our limited edition hats that are on eBay. For some of you that don't buy it here, we will not reproduce this. This simply ends up being on eBay. So if you want to add it to your collection, Go to vtmerch.com. Place your
$500,
order. All right, so let's get right into it. I think the first thing I want to start off with, and Michael, I'm going to come to you, is California. Rob, we have a lot of clips, okay? We have a lot of clips of what's going on in California. It isn't slowing down. The games are not slowing down. Newsom did eventually come out and apologize. If you want to go on Twitter, Rob, and just go to the apology video that he came out eventually. This is, I think, 5 days later. On day one, I asked him, I said, are you going to come out and do this? This is, I think, yesterday that he came out and said this. Now watch this. We don't have to play the whole thing, just the first 30 seconds. Watch how he's finally wanting to have his people be responsible. Go ahead, Rob.
If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account.
Okay.
That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted.
You can pause it right there. You can pause it right there.
Is he reading a script?
Of course he is. You can pause it right.
That's
Go
not
back a little
natural.
bit, Rob. Go back a little bit where, I'm saying it's 4 days too late. This shows you haven't moved to the center. You want these chaos. You need your next George Floyd, and continue to deflect, spin, and blame. Michael, before we go into all these other clips, there's so many of them. There's a guy that's tatted up and, looks like a tough guy explaining. I don't know if you saw this clip or
This
not.
guy's
That World
great.
Star posted. It's phenomenal. What's amazing about this clip when you post it, there's a sound that happens the first 3 seconds that I'm wondering what he was doing before he played this clip. Go ahead and play this clip, Rob. I don't know if you guys caught the sound. Go ahead.
Get this straight.
What was that? Go back again, Rob.
Double
It's like-
respect. Let me hear.
Listen.
Double respect.
Listen to this.
Let me get this straight.
So,
Honey,
by the way, no,
I have
pause
more
it before
important
guys.
things to do. Sorry.
She's doing squats.
Go back, Rob. You know what it's like? It's like but you have to. Can you imagine? Right after he's done with his girl, the only thing he was thinking about is the riots. Imagine how focused
that
he is.
meme. You know the meme of like, I hope he's not dreaming about cheating on me, and the guy's just like, why is Gavin Newsom letting these terrorists?
I don't even
So,
think he was done with
do
his
it
lady
one
friend.
more
I think
time
was,
here.
that's
Do it
what she
one more
said.
time here. Go for it, Rob.
Get this straight. Just so I could clarify it.
Let me just, okay.
You don't want to go back to Mexico. You're protesting to stay away from Mexico. But you're waving the Mexican flag, and you're waving it with pride. You're waving it in the United States, the country you're trying to stay in, the country you don't want to leave. But yet you're waving the Mexican flag with pride. Okay. That seems normal to you? That seems logical? That's not stupid at all? None of that's stupid. All right. You guys are an embarrassment to the Mexican culture and to the United States culture. You guys are an embarrassment to everybody around you, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Do better.
All right, Michael,
Well
your
said.
thoughts on everything that's going on in
Beautiful.
California.
Beautiful. I think it's on a lot of people's minds. Obviously, 200,000 likes for that. And Newsom doesn't know which way to flop. Because he comes out and he says, Trump bringing in the National Guard is a threat to democracy, and this is the authoritarian takeover. So Newsom puts himself firmly on the side of the Mexican flags and the kefias and the ACAB and all the rest of it. Then he realized that's not playing very well. And so he's got to flip and say, no, we're arresting all of these people. Oh, these are people you were just standing with. This is after the Democrats, I don't know if you saw Brian Stelter's tweet. He said that the riots and the arson and the Molotov cocktails were a cry of hope. That's the new fiery but mostly peaceful protest. It's a cry of hope, a song of joy to burn a city down. And so there's actually a reason that Newsom has done this. You know, it's easy to say, oh, what a dummy, he doesn't know what he's doing. That's not fair. Newsom had a strategy. Newsom was a huge lib, and he let his state, at least one of his cities, burn down before all the riots broke out. And he realized, okay, this is bad. I want to be president in 2028, so I'm going to moderate. Trump won the popular vote, so what am I going to do? The best way that I can position myself to win over all those disaffected Dems who went Republican for Trump, who maybe they can come back, I'm going to pretend to be friends with Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, and I'm going to start a podcast and look like Mr. Moderate. Okay, so he starts to do that, and then the riots force his hand. Because when push comes to shove, he can either side with Trump and the Marines and the National Guard and normal people and that Mexican guy without a shirt on, all of whom understand that the rioters are bad, or he can stand with his base. And so he has to stand with his base. So great. Now he's getting all the play over Kamala and Buttigieg and Whitmer and all these other people. That's fine. But he's completely unelectable because what the deportation protest comes down to is mass deportations are a mainstream majority political issue now. Not just the bad guys with the MS-13 tattoos. Mass deportations for many of the 11 to 16 million illegal aliens. So then the last thing the Democrats could do to try to salvage a political win here is they could send their protesters out to wave the American flag and not the Mexican flag. And they can't even do that. And they can't do that not just because they're dummies or something. They can't do that because it is part of their ideology and part of their base that they hate America, that America's evil, we need to abolish the colonial, white, imperial, original sin of blah, 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 whatever. So they can't do it. They can wave the rainbow flag. They can wave the terrorist rainbow flag, the one with the triangle and the brown and the black and whatever. They can wave the Mexican flag, but they can't wave the American flag. And so you look at a guy like Newsom, who is a talented politician, and you realize the guy can't move. Any way he moves, he loses.
But here's a question, though. So to me, what is kind of weird on the playbook, the page is taken out of the playbook, is his current play is the play to stay governor of California. It's not the play to become the president. Who is he winning over?
The moderate play or the radical play?
It's a radical play he's taking right now.
They're kind of getting mixed
up.
up.
But to get the moderate play is for being a president. The radical play is to stay governor of California. It doesn't make any sense.
But how do you win the primary?
How does he win the primary?
Yeah.
So if you saw, the numbers that came up, I don't know if you saw the surgeons of what happened. He officially in the last 4 days, believe it or not, in the craziest way, went from number 5 or 4 on the list to the number 1 candidate for 2020. Yeah. Did you see the surgeons? It went like boom, like this. Did you see this?
I didn't.
Numbers went like this. Newsom went to number 1 spot because Democrats like the fact that he's fighting and standing up to Trump. So on the Democratic side, they're like, look at this guy. Yeah. He's not afraid of Trump. He's not afraid of the bully. He's standing up. So Democrats, believe it or not, like it. Does that mean he can win? Here's CNN. I want to show this clip here, Rob, if you can, from CNN on what happened with trust on immigration. He looks like he needs to go to the bathroom.
Bro. He can't take
Rob,
this
go ahead
crap.
and play this clip. So
He has a stroke every week when he does this. Here he comes.
2020 to 2025, trust more on immigration, the left or right. Go for it.
Start off on the fact that immigrant citizens, immigrant voters, foreign-born voters have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats.
Only in
more
4 or
so
5
than
years.
any other group that I could find. The group of voters who became more hawkish on immigration were in fact immigrants themselves, immigrants who are registered to vote in this country.
That
on that
is
issue.
wild.
How about how they feel about kind of traditionally, historically about Donald Trump?
Yeah, so, you see this shift and you go, what is going on underneath the hood? Well, take a look, Donald Trump. You remember when he first ran back in 2016, immigrant voters were one of his weakest spots. But look at this, Trump's vote share in presidential elections among, again, immigrant citizens, those who are registered to vote. Look at this. In 2016, he got 36% of the vote. You go to 2020, 39% of the vote. Look at this. In 2024, all the way up to 47% of the vote. Some polls I looked at had him barely losing that vote. Some polls I looked at had him barely winning that vote. Again, there is no block of voters that shifted more to the right from 2020 to 2024 than immigrant voters. And Donald Trump, at least in some surveys, actually won that vote. On average, it's about equal. So there may be all this stuff right about...
Tom, why do you think that is? Why do you think, Newsom is doing what he's doing? He's taking a position of staying as the governor, but the Democrats are excited about him fighting against Trump. Yet at the same time, immigrants are siding with Trump on what he's doing on immigration. The Democratic side is not looking good. The votes are going more on the Republican side on how they trust who to handle this. Why do you think this is taking place?
I have 3 quick thoughts on this. And number 1, I got 2 more Minex just last night from people that said, thank you for speaking up for the Latino community. I am in Ventura, California, and the illegal aliens come into our communities because that's the place where they try to find housing and to hide. They're not going to hide in Newport Beach. You see?
Yeah.
So they're coming into our communities. We don't want the criminal element. We don't want the ones that are bad. We are sympathetic for the people that are trying to flee the cartels. But now it creates the same thing here. So number one, the immigrants that are here are assimilating and they are appreciating the American opportunity. That's a fact, and that's what's showing up in the polls. The second point says they don't want the violence either, and they don't want it to reflect on themselves. So they're as concerned as a regular citizen is, and they're polling like regular citizens on the issue of immigration. And lastly, there's one more thing I'd ask what Michael said, and I think he's absolutely correct. Remember, the DNC, inside the DNC, they eat their young. You remember what they did in South Carolina to Bernie going back elections ago. No. J.B. Pritzker is their guy. J.B. Pritzker is being kept insulated right now, and guess what? I believe that Gavin Newsom doesn't know that the DNC is using him as a veritable suicide bomber in this. He thinks he's out there because he has no space on the chessboard to move except to the base. I agree with you 100%. He was trying to be Mr. Moderate. He was being chill. He was wearing different clothing. All this things going on, but all of a sudden he's like, oh crap, I can't stay on that square, otherwise I'll get killed over here. So he has to go back to the base. He doesn't want to be here. And then he and Karen Bass, within 36 hours, suddenly gave Republican stump speeches on violence in the streets. And it's like, wait, what just happened? They even had to run away from their base because they saw the polls coming out exactly what Harry Enton was talking about. Those are my thoughts.
Here's what, by the way, Newsom said about Trump. Rob, if you want to go to the Newsom clip, here's Newsom on Trump with what's going on in California. Go for it.
Failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment,
you gotta give him credit. He is such a good snake in the grass.
He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project. 3 co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don.
You can pause it right here. By the way, he said the president didn't call him. I believe somebody from the president's camp showed the 2 clips of getting calls. I don't know if it's validated or not. It shows they spoke on 7th or something like that at 1:20 in the morning. You know, and people are coming back saying, well, that call never happened. This is President Trump saying that he called Gavin Newsom 1:23 in the morning. Was this fact check, Rock, by other people in Rob? Michael, did you see anything on fact checking with this one, or
I didn't, and I refuse to believe that Gavin Newsom would lie about something like this.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. I think that's a very good, because as a noble man, he would never do such a thing.
I mean, the only thing, the question though, Pat, he saved it as Newsom. If it was really Trump, he would have put New Scum.
You think so?
That's a good point.
I think so.
That's a good point.
Personally.
But remember what Newsom said, Adam. I'm coming to you right after this.
Sure.
Rob, if you can go to that article, very interesting what he said. You have to listen to a couple of the words on what he said there. He said, this is not going to be California first. It's coming to you.
Right.
How does he know? How does he know? Axios, who's not a conservative platform, far from it, they said anti-Trump No Kings protests set for Cleveland, Northeast Ohio. If you go a little bit lower, these are the places it's coming to. This is their plan that they've put together. Go a little bit lower.
Bring it on. Bring it on, baby.
And it's talking about how this is the one that came out 3 hours ago. I want to see the one, Rob, that says how many cities it's going to and who's funding it. It's go right there to the bottom. Millions of people are estimated to protest in more than 1,500 cities across 50 states. The whole thing is called the No Kings. And by the way, you know who's one of the people that's funding this? If you go on ChatGPT, Rob, and ask who is funding the No Kings protest, who is funding the No Kings protest that is taking place, if you go to this one, it tells you Kristi Walton is one of the names. Kristi Walton is one of the Waltons. She's, I think, the poorest one because I think she's only worth $19 or $20 billion.
What a loser.
Yeah. Okay. And, you know, to coincide with Trump's birthday plan, a military prayer, primary promoting the Walton heirs. She funded full-page paid advertisement in New York Times and regional papers, encouraging Americans to reject authoritarianism and engage in civic protest. The protests themselves are organized by the 50-50 One movement alongside with over 100 civil liberties and pro-democracy groups. Some online chatter are saying, speculated that Walmart or billionaire George Soros were bankrolling it. There's a lot of speculation here of what's going on, but the reality of it is, Newsom didn't just say they're coming to a city near you because he's a predictor. No. They've been on conference calls.
Right.
This is a plan.
Now, does the Waltons lady not understand that when these peaceful cries of joy come to cities all around the country, that Walmarts are going to be looted as well?
Yeah, good.
Is she not concerned about that?
Yeah.
What do you think? Which Walton is this, though?
This is Kristi Walton.
Is Kristi Walton an executive and a decision maker at Walmart? Because I can only imagine if she's not, and imagine the other siblings who are, and this was the one that maybe she smoked pot in school and she was the party one and didn't really take life seriously and didn't like the fact that the parents were rich and, it's like, it's about the people. All we care about is money. Okay, she owns roughly 1.9 to 2% of the company, does not hold any official role, which makes sense, or board of directors. She is a prominent shareholder. She takes no part in management decisions. Oh, my. I can only imagine how furious
her brother and sister
brothers are saying, what are you doing?
That's how you know she's funding it. She has nothing else to do. No responsibility.
And can I add something to that? That's a great point, too. I mean, it's just another billionaire, money hiding behind activism. She's pretending it's democracy. But the No Kings protests are organized also by a group called Indivisible, which is founded by Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg. They both authored a 23-page Google Doc called Practical Guide for Resisting the Trump Agenda. Some people online have claimed that they're communists, and you'll never guess who donated. And I know they mention him, but $7,600,000 to that group is George Soros.
No way.
Oh, my gosh.
Stop it,
at the
Vinny.
end of
Jump
all,
change.
You think Soros is just funding all this?
And Mike,
I thought he was clean air and forestry.
And I want to ask a question, Mike. It seems to me that the majority of these events, this destruction, this chaos in America, always goes back to the money, and it's George Soros. How do we not hold that guy accountable when he is the nucleus? He's the main problem, and now obviously he's getting older, and it's going to go down to his son.
It's probably already moved down to his son. I mean, he's a huge player, obviously, and he's not the only one. I mean, I remember when the USAID thing came out, what was so shocking about it was not that we spend money on a bunch of activist nonsense, is that we would spend money, it would go to places like the Tide Center, which is ostensibly international. Then the Tide Center would give money to BLM, so come right back into America. They'd extort the politicians and the businesses, and then it was this kind of vicious cycle. And Soros operates in this way. He's very involved in the affairs of certain countries, Hungarian politics. Obviously, Orban hates him.
Who won't let him come back home.
Yeah, smart guy. Smart guy, that Orban. Obviously, he's very involved in American politics because we're the imperial hegemon. But, he gets away with it because we do have certain constitutional protections that can be exploited by very bad actors. Now, this was very annoying during, the year of our Floyd when, the libs were burning the country down.
Our Floyd.
But what's so funny about this, it ain't 2020 anymore. I think you're seeing that in the response to Los Angeles. This No Kings thing is so laughable because Trump won the popular vote. So what do you say the guy's turning himself into a dictator or a tyrant? Most people voted for him. And so it's fizzling. It's causing the Democrats to flail. George Soros is a very nefarious actor, and he's done a lot of true evil in politics, as have many other Democrat donors. But the one consolation that we should keep in mind is he's not omnipotent. And even though it feels like the libs are omnipotent a lot of the time, they're actually not. And in this battle right now, I want to go all in. I want to donate to this because this No Kings thing,
that's right.
To me, it's an arbitrage opportunity. I just think for the Republicans, every new one that pops off is getting us more and more votes, more and more of those shirtless Mexican guys making videos saying, I'm for Trump.
I think you're giving Soros a little too much credit. Because he's sort of the poster child for this, but let's give credit where credit's due.
He's not saying that.
I'm talking to Vinny.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out where the money's coming from.
Listen, there's some unsung heroes as well that deserve some credit for sowing the chaos.
Yeah.
Let's not let these people go without being mentioned at least as honorable mentions. Give a shout out to Qatar for funding all the billions that they poured in. You got to give China some respect for sowing all the discord. Iran, give them a little credit. It's not just Soros.
Are they paying for these?
They're all involved.
For this?
Some way or another.
I don't know
all
about
this
that.
chaos. Have you ever seen the 3-arm thing, where it's like when these 3 types
Adam,
of groups
we're on the story
get together?
on California.
I know.
Is Iran funding the protests in California?
Or Qatar?
Iran and Qatar have been funding all sorts of globalist, Marxist, jihadist agendas. The ICE thing is just a blip on the radar for what Michael pointedly pointed out. ICE is one element of this.
Yeah.
The bottom line is it's the destruction of the West. It's the destruction of America. This is one element of it. Why at Mexican ICE protests do you see Gaza flags constantly?
The cafes
Constantly.
or whatever. Yeah.
Do you ever hear Mexicans talking about Gaza? No. Because it's all one interweaved agenda to destroy America, and this is just one element of that.
Well, we got a clip here we want to show. Thank you for that, Adam. This is brought to you by Iran. Adam's message right there. He wants to make sure he sponsors the lobbies from Iran.
No, you got to give. I said Qatar and China. I know
forgive us. We wanna make
you
sure-
only heard Iran.
Shout out to Qatar.
You got to
as well,
give
folks.
Qatar
Okay,
some
that's
credit,
right.
please.
Okay, go ahead, Rob.
We're learning that this isn't really organic, that this is highly coordinated, that there's money that's behind this. Some of it is federal grant money or California state grant money even that has gone to these organizations. They've turned around and used it to go after and create this actual rioting and this. There's not protesting anymore. This is absolutely rioting.
So what legally can be done? I mean, it seems like if they're going, it sounds like a misappropriation of funds. I'm sure it was never intended for that funding.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're using the grant money other than it was intended for sure, but you also have this notion of, are they getting people out and encouraging and fomenting the rioting? It looks like that maybe they are. And if they are, that would be aiding and abetting this kind of misconduct, which is criminal conduct, and aiding and abetting is also a criminal offense. And there might even be...
Oh, go ahead.
There might even be an opportunity to investigate them for conspiracy as well, because if they've organized this criminal enterprise, then that's conspiracy.
It's pretty wild to hear that. Vinny, your thoughts?
I just think we should do what Japan does when it's rioting and looting and it gets out of control. The cops spray blue paint on everybody coming out, so you could recognize them when they're just
water with dye.
with
just
dye
like
in
when
it.
you rob a bank, the dye that's on money.
Yeah, so when your dumbass is just at work and like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? He's like, I don't, like, look at your face, bro. There's blue stuff.
I visited Willy Wonka's factory, actually.
Yeah.
It's totally legal.
But I think, and Pat, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago. What was going to be their thing? Because we're waiting for it. He's kicking ass. The trade, the tariffs, everything is kind of coming into order, and then all of a sudden this is popping off. But Mike, you made a great point. Like, bring it on.
It's great.
Bring
man.
it on, because you know what? We're tired of this shit. And I love, what was that guy, Harry Anton? He looks like he's taking a crap. And why is he so shocked? He won the popular vote. He won every swing state. That's what we want. And it's like the Thomas Holman, Pat, made a point yesterday. I forgot which podcast he was on in regard to. Let me find it really, really quick. Thomas Holman. Oh yeah. So he revealed that all of this popped off. You know that we're waiting for the George Floyd moment that they're waiting for. The ICE raid that set it all off was the target of a multinational illegal money laundering scheme linked to the Mexican and Colombian cartels. That's how this started. They weren't grabbing dads and moms and kids getting ripped out of their arms. And he said that the location is one of many, and that they're laundering hundreds of millions of dollars to fund cartel activities. And the Trump administration is going after their money. That's why they're rioting. That's why they're losing their minds. And in that raid, this is so random. A rapist and a murderer convicted was grabbed out of that place. So,
and there's an attempted murderer in the anti-deportation protest because of the Molotov cocktail. Yep. So I think what the liberals and the media, though I repeat myself, don't understand is what Trump is doing is the moderate option. Okay, they think this is really extreme, that you would arrest even the criminals, even the violent criminals. This is very much the moderate option. If the Trump deportations continue at their current pace, by the end of this term, Trump will have deported something like, I don't know, call it 250 to 400,000, maybe if we're lucky, illegal aliens. There are 11 to 16 million illegal aliens in the country conservatively. So I'm not knocking Trump. Clearly, he's ramping things up and he's dealing with a lot of strong headwinds in the other direction. But what I'm saying is, people voted for mass deportations, okay? Yep. And so 400,000 in 4 years, that's a drop in the bucket. Trump has a lot of political leeway to ramp this up significantly. He will not get blowback from any of the people who matter.
Here's a thing that I will say. If you want to play this clip, Rob, go for it.
She's looking
Nancy
good.
Pelosi.
She's looking really good.
Channels Biden. Watch
go
this.
for it.
in a bipartisan way on January 6th with violence against the Constitution, against the Congress, and against the United States Capitol, we begged the President of the United States to send in the National Guard. He would not do it. Not only would he not do it.
Can we get a fact check on that?
Yeah, we have a video.
Law enforcement people were being harmed. Some later died. He would not send it in when an instigation that an insurrection that he incited was causing damage to those assigned to protect the
Hang on to
Capitol
that podium.
and the Constitution that day to accept the results of the Electoral College.
What? So when they say something like
Now we have an electrical college. That's shocking.
Do they think people don't remember like the clips like with her daughter? Like, do they really know? Do they really think that no one's gonna know? Okay, go ahead and play this clip, Rob.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Oh, weird.
Oh,
and you make a great point. By the way, she's 85 years old, and I don't know
in that picture.
Yeah, I don't know when. Yeah, I don't know when the Democrats are gonna just get away from people like her and Chuck Schumer and just anyway. But the January 6th thing, Pat, that's one thing. Why isn't any reporter in that room? There's Republicans in that room with her, stopping her like they always do when it's a Republican, and say, "Time out, Miss Pelosi. You're full of shit. We have a video. You said it, and there's proof."
But they don't need to. They don't. I agree. They should if they had any integrity.
Say something.
But they don't need to because you'll do it. Because it's not even us. It's like pseudonymous Twitter accounts will do it immediately. So they're not going to. They used to get away with this for decades. They can't get away with this for 5 seconds now. And even the beginning, the idea that she was going to deflect from people trying to murder cops in LA and burning parts of the city down by saying, well, you know, January 6th. You think, well, it's going to be the year 2027. 2227. She's going to be 300 years old. She's going to be lying on her deathbed. Her final words are going to be January 6th. It's
Can
not.
you imagine?
You're getting diminishing marginal returns on that.
That's the part where those things are going to work today. Rob, can you play this clip? Here's another fellow who is talking about what's going on, and he had a complete different perspective. Go ahead and play this clip.
Someone asked me if I support the protests that are going on in LA. I 100% do. Please keep going. Burn down your own backyard if you must. You know why? Because this right here is the greatest campaign ad that this side never had to pay for. Y'all motherfuckers out there in Los Angeles throwing a full-blown fucking tantrum. Like y'all just crawled out the Rio Grande, screaming death to America. In a country that gave you the fucking freedom to do that shit. You were born at Kaiser Permanente in Burbank. Stop it. You ain't no chapter, you're Chris from Pasadena. You ain't cartel born. You were Target born with a Costco membership by age 5. Half you motherfuckers protesting ain't even Mexican. You're American with Mexican heritage. And a tattoo of the Virgin Mary you got on a Vegas bender. Don't get it twisted, I respect the heritage. But flying a foreign flag while shitting on the country that gave you the fucking freedom to do it, that's not pride. You don't even go to fucking Mexico unless it's for spring break in Cancun with a passport you got from the U.S. government.
Boom.
And you won't go live there. Why? Because you like your DoorDash, your 7-Elevens, your air conditioning, and your freedom to scream dumb shit without a cartel rolling up on your motherfucking ass. And let's be honest, ain't nobody screaming death to Mexico while flying an American flag through Guadalajara. You know why? Because that's how you end up in a back alley, starring in Cartel TikTok Season 3. Meanwhile, the rest of America is sitting back watching you block freeways during rush hour, destroying businesses, wearing $300 fucking Jordans, screaming about injustice, in the city with the most social programs and diversity hires in the fucking country. Y'all are the political version of throwing a Molotov cocktail at a fucking Prius because you're mad about gas prices.
This guy's good.
So listen, I'm not mad you're passionate. I'm mad you're dumb. And your dumbass behavior is helping the other side more than a Trump rally in Texas with free brisket. Every time y'all riot, loot, tearing up your own shit, you're just birthing another red voter.
So you can pause it. So here's a question.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Adam, I'm going to come to you first. And I want you to try to be focused on this question. The question is this, okay? How different would it have been if Trump would have waited 48 hours to respond, 72 hours to respond, 5 days to respond. So let's role play this. He responds swiftly. This was a peaceful protest until you got involved and you made it to be chaos. Okay? He takes his time. What happens then? Is Newsom begging and saying, we've been calling, asking for the government to get involved in it? What happens if the president doesn't respond for 4 or 5 days instead of swiftly responding? And I'm going to come to you first.
Well, the whole city would have burnt down because Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass didn't do anything. It was funny. I was having a conversation with our friend Scott that was here the other day who lived in L.A., and I was like, hey, did you see what happened in L.A. over the weekend? He goes, no, what's up? I go, the whole city's on fire. He goes, again? Like as if like there was another fire. I go, no, it's a different fire this time. This time it's man-made. Well, maybe the last time was man-made as well. I don't know. And he's like, what happened? I go, yeah, they're all protesting, ICE raids, everything like that. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm so glad I got out of there. So the reality is this. Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, I don't follow California like you guys do. You guys all lived there for 20 years, decade. I've spent a couple summers there. I give 0 Fs about California. In Florida, I'm looking at California on the other side of the country,
Adam,
and I'm like,
say focus
what
on the
losers?
question. So
the city could have, should have, and would have burnt down if not for
That's
Trump.
what you think. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, Michael, what do you think? Say the president waits 4 or 5 days, doesn't respond, no National Guard, no Marines. How different of an approach would Newsom have taken? And what would have happened to California?
Well, all of the focus would have just been on the deportation rate. So, there was no way that the Democrat response publicly was ever going to be different than it was. Either you're going to complain about the Marines, or you're going to complain about the National Guard, or you're going to complain about Tom Homan. But you remember, Trump is the one who started it. Actually, the Democrats started it when they let all the illegals in. But Trump is the one who set the stage for this political episode. And he did it for justice, and he did it for law enforcement. He did to give the voters what they want. But the man could not have scripted it better. He's a showbiz guy, and he was a top network TV star. So I think he knew that, okay, if he comes in right away, then they're going to complain about his response to their response to the deportations. Had he let it play out, you would have had some more rioting, some more looting, and the Democrats would have just been complaining about Trump in a different way. I don't know that the actual number of cars burned and people attacked and cops threatened, I don't know that totally would have changed. So in my view, I attribute at least 4D chess to Trump on a lot of these things, on the political showbiz of it all. I think he just played it out well. He backed them into a corner where anything they did was going to redound to their detriment.
Okay, Tom, what do you think?
I think that we saw the playbook for the Palisades fires with Gavin Newsom saying, getting caught trying to get in a car, faking that he was on a phone call, wouldn't talk to the citizen, was getting in the SUV, and Karen Bass denying what was going on, and the fire chief. And remember what they then wove in? We're out here trying to do this ourselves. We could use some help. Where's the president? Why doesn't he come out here? And so they would have just found a way to spin it on Trump. And I think we saw the playbook with the Palisades fire, the way he spun that.
So here's what I think it's going to be interesting to do. If I was an advisor on the inside, I would have said, perfect. Now that we know he responded like this, California responded like this, when this happens in any other blue state, let it happen. Give it 4 or 5 days. You're going to go into 1,500 cities? Yeah, no problem. Red states. They don't have a problem if we send National Guard. They don't have a problem if we send support. Blue states, you don't need it? No problem. You got it. Go ahead, Illinois, Chicago. Go ahead, or whatever the Spokane, Washington. Go ahead. You're right. You got it. Handle yourself. Now, if they come back and they flip and they say, why don't you send National Guard? The government didn't help. They didn't do anything. Oh, now make up your mind. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? This is going to be a very easy way of catching the contradiction in their argument of what's really going to be happening if people do show up or not show up. California became the case study. Newsom's either going to look like a clown, a fool, in the next few weeks if they flip the approach. Now, the problem with that is some people may say, is that the best thing for the citizen that's living in that city? No. Why play politics? Do what's right for the citizen and don't play politics with these guys because the American people voted for you. There are people that voted for you in these cities like Chicago, like New York, and you know what Trump's going to be doing. Trump's going to be supporting them no matter what. But the reality of it is, I wonder how they would have reacted if time was taken, if nobody did get involved. Couple things to be thinking about, that citizens are taking matters in their own hands. What is this, Rob? This is what? This is...
That was the fake phone call. I'm on an emergency call. I'm trying to talk to people. I can't
remember
talk
that.
to you now.
Yeah. But go to the citizen. Here's a guy. Look what he throws at ICE or the sheriff, or who is that? Is that Marshall?
I would say Marshall, like it's a tactical unit.
I don't know who it is, but watch
Whoever
what
it is.
happens here, folks. Watch this. Go ahead.
This is yesterday. Hey, what's up, fool? I'll do the voiceover. Hey, what's up, fool? Hey, that's my drink.
Are you kidding me?
Yes,
Like,
that's
what
it.
are you thinking?
Boom!
Oh.
That's how you get it.
Can I confess something?
All of a sudden, Lawrence Taylor shows up and just takes this guy down?
citizen's arrest, ladies and gentlemen.
Last night, I get to my hotel, and I hadn't seen that video, and it popped up on my Twitter. Whatever. I must have watched it 10 times.
I did. Let's just watch it one more time. I know a football team that wouldn't mind signing that guy to protect. By the way,
Chargers,
the
Mikey
Cincinnati
Spanos, sign this guy.
Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals should sign him to protect Joe Burrow.
All right, I'll do the voiceover.
And here we go.
Hey, what's up, puto?
There's
Hey,
no
what's up,
helmet,
babe?
and
Hey,
that's
take my drink,
concrete.
eh?
What are you
I'm gonna run
thinking is
away,
going to
fool.
happen?
Boom!
Yeah.
I like
The catch is, in California, from what I've seen for the last 5 years, the guy that tackled him is going to get in trouble.
Oh, for sure.
He's the guy to go to the jail. The other guy's going to get cash bail.
Not this week.
There's one other element here as far as timing goes. Don't forget, Trump is a master of timing and marketing. What was happening, the number one story in the world 24 hours before this was
Elon
Trump
Musk
versus
and
Elon.
Trump.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom,
Gone.
that goes away.
Yeah.
Hey, did you hear what happened to Trump and Elon? No. Did you see what's going on in LA?
Oh, you
Boom.
think Trump did that?
Do I think Trump did what?
You think Trump responded the way he did to eliminate that story?
I
or you
think
that's
there's an
just the
element
news
of
side?
Trump. If you're thinking, if you're playing 4D chess,
Okay.
if you want to give him a little bit of credit,
I'll tell you, look, if that's
you
the
don't
case-
think that Trump would use that opportunity to deflect from him being on Epstein Island?
So then now that's
Hang on.
taken over.
No?
What about
I'm
Iran?
dead wrong here?
Well, then with
Tom,
that,
what was that noise?
Vinny, go ahead.
That the bong rip?
What about
quick bong hit, it makes your
so
points
say your
clear.
point one more time? Honestly,
I'm saying,
yes.
there's probably a little bit of likelihood of Trump responding quicker than maybe he wanted to have.
Okay. I
Because
got
Trump
you.
understands letting California, LA burn down. He's going to say, look at Karen Bass, look at Gavin Newsom. You're letting your city, your state and your city. So he's like, all right, I'm in the news for not good things. Like, was the
Yeah,
Elon
Epstein
thing
list. Yeah, that's a
a
horrible
good thing
thing
or
to
bad
say.
thing for Trump?
No, bad.
Bad.
But now-
okay, let's steal the headlines.
So what would
and
so what would you say
go
in
to
that sense? So
California.
now that so the Elon
I don't think
thing was
that's a
here,
crazy
then
theory.
Then the ICE raids, but then now what's going to shut this up? Because this is a bad look. It's going to be what the Iran thing is next because that's coming up.
Yeah, but I think this is a good look for Trump. And by the way, if that theory is true, if Trump sent in Tom Homan and then the Guard and then the Marines in order to distract from mean Trump tweets, Elon, I'm talking right to you now, buddy. I know you're watching. Elon, you need a lot more mean tweets. We need to I want Tom Homan in every city in this country. I don't care how many tweets it takes.
Yep.
I love it. If that
Elon,
theory is true.
but then 24 hours after that, Elon reverses course and
so let-
apologizes.
So let me ask you a
I've
question.
heard
though.
way wilder theories
Hey,
on
Rob,
this
so
show.
Pat,
Rob, what is this, Rob?
This is Chris Cuomo. I believe Vinny sent this clip.
Yeah.
This
What is this?
Chris Cuomo saying exactly what Adam is saying, that actually placing blame on the riots on Trump as a form of distraction from the ongoing tariff wars.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
This is a wet dream for him, what's happening right now. This is a perfect, legitimate, justifiable distraction from economic uncertainty and downturn
Are we
that is not
downturned?
only
Yeah.
on his
No,
watch.
those are two different
It
things.
is his fault. Nothing that he needs to focus on is going well. This
like what
is such a great proxy for MAGA. Look at these crazy lefties with their pro-Palestine. They're protesting against ICE nominally, which I think there are totally righteous and legal reasons to protest what the administration is forcing ICE to do right now. I don't blame the agents, but the mandate is way too broad.
That's a lot of prevarication.
And
Good
too
grief.
accelerated.
You can
But
pause
this
it
is
right
a
there, Rob.
Can I? Okay.
So
and
he's
again,
sort of saying what I-
No. What you're saying is he fabricated it to distract. Versus,
No.
if it's a gift that was dropped, okay, yeah, maybe.
Yes.
No.
I'm saying the second one.
No. Stop. You said Trump's a 4D chess guy. He could be using this as a way to get people to get away from that. That's one theory. The other theory is he happened to gotten lucky with this dropping now, and that's why nobody's looking here anymore. They're going here. That theory, yeah, okay, great. Yeah, maybe. But it's not that Trump created this chaos to get people not to think about what's going on with Musk.
No, I definitely
right,
100% did not say he made the chaos.
Go ahead.
I'm saying he responded to the chaos.
Well, first of all, and again, we love Chris. You know, we hang out with him. He's a cool guy. But how many more times is this guy going to be wrong and talking out of his ass? Like what? Hold on. What economic downfall? We're kicking ass in the economy. He's saying Trump isn't doing well. Show me where he's not doing well. He's doing exactly what the hell we wanted. He also said that the Lake and Riley murder was just a single issue. Yeah, and then he said the other day that Joe Rogan in 3 months is not going to be where Joe Rogan is at. I think he's completely off his rocker. But the thing is this, guys. This is all planned from the left. They knew, because he said it, Tom Homan was going to be going around and we're going to do this mass deportation. My question is, did the Democrats pull the trigger too early? Because at the end of the day, Trump isn't coming back in. Trump is gone in 3.5 years. Bye-bye, he's finished. What's the problem is the midterms, right, Mike? So do you think that they're pulling the trigger too early because this is going to die out, what, in a month? We won't even be hearing about this in a month. Is it too early that they did this because what else are they going to have?
They had to test it out, I think. And so in a way, it's very good for them that they tested it out now before the midterms because it didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, they thought they were going to have another George Floyd summer and that, but it didn't work. And I think part of the reason it didn't work actually is the Trump response. It's not just that people could look at them and like the shirtless Mexican guy say, they look crazy and I don't want them to govern. Part of it also was Trump exerting authority in a good way. Chris Cuomo there's talking about uncertainty. Sure, whatever. There's always economic uncertainty. But there is certainty when Trump is in office that your cities aren't going to burn down. There is certainty that we're going to finally enforce immigration laws, that now the illegal crossings have dropped basically to zero. There is this sense of safety. And that, you know, ultimately what a president is supposed to provide, what any national or imperial leader even is supposed to provide, is just kind of peace, you know, and then people can go about their business and do what they want to do. I think they gave him an opportunity, they didn't just showcase their insanity. They gave him an opportunity to show people why they voted for him. I think they need a completely different strategy for the midterms.
So here's Trump taking a few questions, and it comes up with the riots and protests, and here's what he said. Go for it.
On Saturday, we're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protester wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force. Thank you very much, everybody.
What does that mean exactly?
Heavy force. Like if you're going to try to come out there and burn this and cause problems and ruin people's days and throw Molotov cocktails and shit just because you were paid to go do there, you're going to be met with force because they're not playing. Like enough is enough, bro. We're not going to keep letting this happen and letting people burn down their cities. Like, and this is the guy that has attempted murder. You see him creeping so bad. Think about this. There's officers on the right, there's ICE agents, and there's people on the right. Look at him. He's threatening them with the lighter. He's basically saying, I have a lighter and I have Molotov cocktails. And then, Robbie, if you fast forward a little bit, right, keep going. Look, he stands behind the tree. And then he throws something at them right there. You see that? That's attempted murder. And that guy's cooked and he's finished. And they run after his ass and they grab him. You can't be throwing like that. He's saying that at him. You try to do that shit. Like enough is enough, bro. We're law and order. We're not gonna let these people take over.
And the reason
country.
we're seeing this is because we have citizen journalism, and then we have the rise of alternative media, and that we all complain about the MSM. But Michael said something about 10 minutes ago that I completely agree with. The MSM is dying. The mainstream media is slowly dying. And what we're seeing here is a democratization of the access to all of this footage and things so that, and by the way, when you have bald Brian's out there saying on CNN,
just offended Rob,
they're gonna, you know, misinterpret what they see. We can't trust the public to see it. You know what's going on here. Sorry, dude. Americans know what they're seeing, and you see this. And by the way, I love this. Today, I was sitting there thinking about this as I was preparing, and today, an article on Puck from Dylan Byers. I don't agree with Dylan on everything, but Dylan, you're on point on this one. CNN prepares for the afterlife. It's talking about the death of what was once a news. This is their own people talking about him this way. So I love this.
Here's your friend, Brian Stelter.
And we're important.
Go for it.
And I've noticed, Brianna, we all live on our phones these days. We're all scrolling through social media. You've got to be careful at a delicate moment like this to look at the timestamps, look at the dates, look at when things are actually posted, and if they're really from the situation they're purporting to be. A lot of these algorithms are surfacing hours old or even days old content. So you might be looking at a video of something, wondering what's happening in LA. It's actually from 2 days ago. And that's, it only matters because it can give people a false impression of what's actually happening at a moment of unrest.
But CNN fired you because they were trying to go more center. Why did they bring his dumb ass back? He's the same one that when Biden was getting held and taken off stage, he's like, guys, these are cheap fakes. Don't believe it. He is completely full of shit. He's one of the worst people.
Yeah, don't believe your eyes. Just believe what we say.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to, wherever Jim Acosta is, go do your Substack. Get the hell out. I'm tired of this guy, bro.
Now we turn to the fired CNN correspondent here on CNN to tell all the dying CNN viewers why they need to watch CNN.
That is so funny. By the way, here's what happens in Florida. If you want to bring the protesting in Florida, this is what the governor of Florida just said. Go ahead, Rob.
And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. Awesome. You have a right to defend yourself.
Michael, thoughts on
And
this?
if you see protests in Florida, please give Vinny the coordinates.
I've had this thought, because put yourself, I actually try not to, despite my Sicilian and Irish heritage, I try not to let my wrath get away from me. I try to be really patient, even if I'm driving in LA in some lunatic climate, whatever people are in the street. But then put yourself in this position. You're driving and there's an angry mob and you got your kid in the back of the car. Or you got a sick kid, you're trying to get to the hospital or something, and you got these people standing around talking about the sun monster shutting down the 405. I think the prudent, just, reasonable, good Christian thing to do would be to run them over. To try to get them out of the way, but to run them over. Like that, I think that's actually justice and prudence and safety. And it's the healthiest and safest thing to do. And so what DeSantis is doing here is, I think, answering what most of us know, not only in our gut, but even in our heads. And I want to see this in every Republican state in the country.
By the way, can you go to that video, Rob, on X? I actually want to know what the commentary is. Go find that video. Puts DeSantis driving. Okay, DeSantis, driving. I think that's the video. And then just go to, I want to see whatever the biggest, most liked is out of all of those most comments. Go to that one. Okay, that one right there. Go to the second one right there. And go zoom in a little bit to just see what people are saying. Zoom in a little bit. In Florida, H1 was okay. Drivers may avoid civil lawsuits if they hit a protester while fleeing in near safety, but this does not grant immunity from criminal charges. You could face jail time for crime like vehicular assault or manslaughter, depending on the. Can you put show more, please? Depending on. This law is controversial with debates over driver safety and protests illegal. Okay, so self-defense means mowing down civilians now. What happens to de-escalation? This is a reckless abuse of power, not leadership. Was he really drunk when he said this? Okay.
Getting out of the scene is de-escalation.
Right. So what's the next one? We need laws that protect people from being harmed, not encourage them to cause harm. Protesters blocking roads is frustrating, but that doesn't justify turning the streets into a battleground. Okay, what's the next one?
They're the ones who turn the streets into a battleground.
That's the point, yeah.
They're on the street. The streets are for cars, not for lunatics.
Signs everywhere in Florida say that you must stop for pedestrian crossing the street.
So funny.
100% agree with DeSantis. Protest isn't murder, assault, arson, vandalism, destruction, or detainment. People doing or threatening these things are not exercising their rights. Okay, what's the next one?
They're committing crimes against you. Boom.
Makes sense if they're surrounding your car and afraid for safety, drive, get away. Hurting the protesters isn't the point. Them being in the way shouldn't stop your escape.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
There's
this is a great policy.
This is a philosophical point that actually goes way down in the Western tradition. There's this Thomistic principle for St. Thomas Aquinas called double effect, which is you, let's say like you're pro-life and you have an ectopic pregnancy. So you don't want to kill the baby, but if the baby continues to grow, you'll die. you could, if you go in and treat the ectopic pregnancy, let's say you remove the fallopian tube, the consequence will be the death of the baby in the womb. But that's not what you're intending. That's not principally what you're doing. And so this is a moral way to get through thorny moral issues. That's exactly what this guy is advocating here, and it is morally perfect, which is to say, it's not like you're going out trying to mow down hippies. Some people might do that, and in which case, as Grok points out, they could be prosecuted. It's that you're trying to get away. You need to protect the right of innocent people to get away, to protect their kids, to protect their persons. And so when you do that, you're actually what DeSantis is doing is enshrining into law a basic principle that we in the West have understood to be moral for many, many centuries.
Tom, let me just really fast at him. Tom reminded me, 1992, remember that guy, Reginald Denny, who was dragged out of his truck. They hit him in the head with a brick. They were dumping Rob, I sent you a thing on Slack. He got dragged out of his truck during the riots. He's a working guy out of his 16-wheeler, and they threw bricks at his head, and they were slamming stuff on him. And that's a photo. Look at that. That was through the 92 riots.
And he stopped his truck. He was waving at him from inside. He didn't want anything.
Can you guys move?
And they attacked the truck
dragged him out, and they beat
him
his ass almost to death.
That was the infamous LA riots when Rodney King got his ass whipped by, I think, 4 policemen. Yeah. And his famous lines were, "Can't we all get along?"
Yeah.
In the spirit of that, let me say one thing about protests.
Don't take a swing at a cop, and they won't do a drum solo on your face.
I mean, in the spirit of protest, let me just kind of give it a counter argument. I'm all for protests. I mean, our foundation of our country is based on a protest, no taxation without representation. So let's not get it twisted. You can protest. You just don't do it violently. Don't riot. Don't bring arsonists. Don't bring people who are absolute criminals firing guns at cops. So this rhetoric, I think, needs to be just tampered down a little bit. Running people over in your car, mow them down, shoot them, relax. Let's be grown-ups in here. This goes back to what that black guy was saying when he's like, this is the best campaign ad you possibly can have.
Yeah.
Because if you show up and act normal and give a protest and you would seem reasonable, people are like, wow, these guys actually
But you
seem
know,
legit.
the point you're making...
But when you act like psychopaths,
these aren't protests.
nobody's going to have your
an
back.
organized riot.
That's exactly what I just
see
said.
what you're saying, but let's call it what it is. Have I seen a protest? Have I seen people standing on City Hall with a bullhorn trying to make their point, pointing to a social media post where they put their Magna Carta of their grievances up? No, I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen an orderly crowd listening to somebody, I have a dream, and cheering and crying. I haven't seen that. I've seen organized people. I've seen ads on Craigslist looking for tough guys. I've seen vans handing out masks and other supplies to them. I see people that are I see a second group of people using it as an excuse to loot businesses. That's what I see. I am waiting with hungry eyes to see a protest that says, here's our point, here's our charter, here's our voice, and peacefully gathering together and talking about it. Show me the protest. I haven't seen it.
By the way, there was a clip I saw. I wish I would have saved this, Rob. Is a mother who's into protesting. She's driving with 2 kids in a car.
I think they fact-checked it, Pat. I think that was from Florida, and in 2024.
Which one is this? Is that the one right there?
The white car. What? I think Zeal took. Yeah.
Oh,
that's from Florida. Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me.
Oh,
that's
okay.
not the point.
Okay, got you.
I'm not talking about protest.
Okay.
I want you to play this clip. So watch this clip here. Play it if you could. She's got kids in the car, right?
If you're a parent, you got to run them over.
Okay. So here's the part. Okay, you can pause it right there. I want to ask you a question, Adam. Let's play.
Devil's advocate.
Yeah. So imagine you're a mother with 2 kids in a car. One's 8 months old. One's 4. They're in their seat. What do you do in that moment? What do you do? Tell your wife. She calls you, babe. I'm in a car with the kids in the back. There's 50 people in front of me right now. What should I do? Babe, you should get out of the car and ask them nicely to move. What would you tell her to do? Your wife calls you. Your 2 kids, your 2 sons, daughter are in the back. What do you tell her to do?
If you're in danger and it's a riot, you got to do what you got to do to survive.
What would you tell her to do?
Which is what?
Get out of there, run them over wherever you got to run over.
Okay, good.
But that's not a protest.
No.
That's a full-on chaotic riot.
Okay.
That's called a left-wing protest.
Yeah, I agree. But then people are going to say, well, look at January 6th. Because here's my opinion.
Look at it. I'd love to look at January 6th.
I could be totally wrong. You tell me. I think at least half of the protesters actually come in peace, left or right.
Sure.
But then what's happened is that all of a sudden bad
On
actors show
buses
up.
from Memphis,
You mean just like January 6th, the paid agitators that were there and the FBI?
But there was also listen. It wasn't just all just paid agitators. There were people flying. The South should have won type flags, Confederate flags. So people are going to show up. Anarchists are going to show up. Troublemakers are going to show up.
They only show up on the
Arsonists are going to
left
show
is
up.
the problem.
They also showed up on January 6th.
Sort of. Like most of
But
what
they
happened. No, not really.
Adam, who killed? There's nobody died.
I'm not
the one person who died
The
in
left
political...
is way worse. Not even close.
The one person
but
who died...
let's not pretend that everyone is there for arson and murder.
But I think there's just no comparison. Even if you look at January 6th, which is the only example on the right that anyone can point to of an even semi-violent riot, one person died in the political violence, and it was a Trump supporter shot by a trigger-happy cop. And there were weirdos and wackos, and they had horn hats, and they took selfies. And I'm not saying it was the most beautiful protest ever. That's the closest thing they have. Meanwhile, it seems like every major protest movement, what's going on in L.A., the George Floyd stuff, the climate change stuff, Occupy Wall Street, going on and on and on. The vast majority of attacks ever at the U.S. Capitol, going back over a century now, they're from the left. And I don't think this is just an accident. I think it's, even if you go all the way back to the American Revolution, like you were talking about, there was a radical aspect of the revolution, the kind of Sons of Liberty types, and there was a more conservative aspect of the revolution, the John Adams types. They were a little bit more orderly. And I just think we don't have it in us to throw Molotov cocktails. We don't do that. That's not part of our political order. We're not Jacobins. The left is. I mean, the left, that's where the left comes from, is the French Revolution and the Jacobins. So, when we implement these kinds of common sense safety laws, where you say, look, you got kids in your car and you got these leftists around you and they're getting a little threatening and you get to hit the accelerator a little bit. To me, this makes perfect sense. And it's not going to be, well, both sides do it. At a long enough time horizon, the violence at right-wing political rallies drops statistically to nothing. And on a long enough time horizon, the incidence of violence at left-wing rallies goes up to 100.
You want to know why you're absolutely right? And I'll give you an example. Because the right had the common sense and the chutzpah to take the cancer of the right out. The neo-Nazis, the KKK, the white supremacists who were part of the far right.
You could be radicals.
They said, no, get the out of here. You've experienced some of this far right hatred online, I'm sure. But the left has not had the balls to say, get the communists out of here, get the anarchists out of here, get the Antifa out of here. They haven't had the balls to do that where the right has.
Yeah, and the left can't because it's just all part of the same thing.
There it is.
Okay, so what we're going to do, just to test this out, we're going to send Adam to LA to these protests.
With a Prius?
Put him in a car.
Prius?
With two dolls, kids, in the back. And we're going to say, all right, Adam, what are you going to be doing? Right? Show us your case study. Get out and do your Adam-friendly thing. Hey, guys, can we all just get along?
I want no part of these people. I'll give Vinny one piece of credit.
Yeah.
Kristi Noem said that LA is a city of criminals.
Can you play that clip, Rob?
Yep.
Can you play that clip?
Yes, sir.
Those are the people we're going after. I mean, those are our targets. Today we had over 400 to 500 targets we were going after that were known members of gangs in LA that have been victimizing people for years, that Gavin Newsom has done absolutely nothing about, that Mayor Bass has done absolutely nothing about. Listen, I served with her in Congress before she was ever mayor, and she is a train wreck of a mayor now that is endorsing these kind of activities, has allowed her city to be completely devastated with crime, and now she's holding press conferences talking about the fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants. Well, they're not a city of immigrants. They're a city of criminals because she has protected them for so many years. And so we're coming in and doing what the president has said that he's going to do, and he's going to allow people to live in a safe community again. And we're going to use the authority that he has as president of the United States to conduct these operations. And the more that people conduct violence against law enforcement officers, boy, we're going to hit them back, and we're going to hit them back harder than we ever have before.
And Adam, you were going to say,
I was going to say, and give Vinny credit. Vinny calls a lot of people demons. He's a demon. He's a demon. Everyone's a demon.
Jake knows.
This is supposedly the city of angels. It looks a lot closer to the city of demons at this point.
Yeah.
Well,
so credit's credit due for you.
Governor's snake. So
listen, it is what it is. We're going to see what's going to happen. We pray for the people of LA, for them to figure it out. There was a mayor. Is it a mayor, Rob? The sheriff from this
San
city, San Bernardino, who came out aggressive, and now they want him to run for governor. Watch this one here.
This guy.
Perfect mustache.
Appalled that we are at this point in society where people come out and think that this is okay. And then it makes it 100 times worse when you have politicians that are encouraging it, that are not calling it what it is, which is criminal activity. The lying to all of us, lying to the media, and purposely using the word peaceful, while maybe they should look at their phones or their TVs, because I have law enforcement officers that are being shot at, that are being injured, that are being hurt, vehicles being damaged, things being burned, and they're calling it peaceful. It is a disgusting display of partisan politics. I wish they would all just put their phones down, be quiet, and let law enforcement handle this how it should be handled, which is the complete enforcement of law and holding criminals accountable. It's rocks, bottles.
You can pause it right there. Good, the fact that there are people like this in the state of California now. Imagine him on stage going against Newsom.
Oh.
One is a spinner, and he's going to be based on values. Who's going to win? What is that clip you got, Rob? What is that one?
This was just in regards to if you had your children in the vehicle. This is a mother in New York who's trying to get to work, and she's stopped by protesters who are arguing that ICE agents are stealing from their children and
Let's
hurting.
see it. Yeah, go ahead.
I know, and these people are having their children taken and they're what about my kids? I need their job. Look at this. Then what happens to my kids? I can't help you. But you can if you could just move out the way.
So funny.
How is this a peaceful protest if there's nothing to do?
Look at this guy. He's definitely on drugs. Look at that.
White people feel about stopping
We don't know that.
He looks like that.
He's
Allegedly.
Allegedly, he looks like
that actor.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to work? Look at this riot you guys are causing. I'm not causing no problems. I'm not trying to.
Dark-skinned lady versus man bun, white liberal, and his mother or someone.
You're oppressed. Why don't you understand?
There you
I'm trying
have
to get to
it.
work.
There you have it. What's this, Rob?
And this is the mayor of Paramount, where she begs the Trump administration to stop terrorizing the poor people of Paramount with ICE raids.
Let's see it.
On Saturday morning, myself, along with Assemblymember Solache, we were gassed and we were hit with the rubber pellets or whatever they were shooting at us. I'm asking you, please listen to me. Stop terrorizing our residents. You need to stop these raids.
Oh my God.
We were at a council meeting last night where members of our community were crying to us. And Mayor, we need help. We need direction. With all of our great city council members, we need help and guidance on what we could do for our residents. But I'm asking you, please stop the raids. This has to stop now.
That's
Thank
not
you.
even a DEI. Look, we pause it right there. Everybody's a lady except for men. You're going to protect your city? Oh, okay. Yeah, for sure. Wow. Yeah, for sure. You guys are going to protect your city. And I'm sure that person didn't say that to you, that they're doing that to them, but you can definitely spin it. Michael, you see this kind of stuff. You see all these, the advertisement, promoting, all of these things. What do you think about with these last couple clips?
Well, look, I think the best we can do for that lady is more pellets. We're not going to be
So
able
you're with
to.
that?
You know, it's what's
More
fun-
pellets for Paramount.
Yes,
pellets for Paramount.
That's my campaign. Where do I donate? Where do I? What they don't seem to they don't even seem to understand the structure of the government, because they're saying here they got the city of Los Angeles sign and says, we're begging you, please stop these raids. Well, the city can't stop the raids, and the state can't stop the raids, and actually the federal government is going to be implementing these raids because that's what they were elected to do, and because they have jurisdiction over the issue of immigration, and they're gonna show their power. And I think this is something that on the left and the right we have misunderstood, and certainly Hollywood has misunderstood for decades. We forget that political power is a real thing. Because we've had this line, and I've said it to plenty. We've all said it. Politics is downstream of culture, and the movies actually are the real governing force. And sure, there's some truth to that, I guess. But culture is downstream of politics too. And when you win, like Cocaine Mitch McConnell said, the winners go to Washington and the losers go home, and then you get to make laws, and at the very least you get executive orders, and you get to enforce laws, and people are going to get in line. I mean, the clearest example of this is Pride
Did you
Month.
just say Cocaine Mitch McConnell?
Cocaine Mitch, yeah.
So the Cocaine Cowboy is about him?
I think it is.
Oh,
It's a biopic, actually.
Is that the story about Mitch McConnell? Is that he likes the party?
Very few people know that.
Okay.
Rock, is that true? I don't. But they don't.
Allegedly.
You
Vinny,
see
you're a little
this.
snooty.
The clearest example is Pride Month. Because Pride Month just went away this year. There's no Pride Month. It's kind of funny. We got rid of Pride parades in LA, and now we just have like Mexican race riots. So Pride maybe wasn't so bad.
It's okay, no problem.
But with Pride Month, it's not that there was some big cultural shift and we had new TV shows and movies. No. The people voted for Trump, and then all the corporations realized that their companies were going to get ground into the dirt by the people and maybe by the government if they kept pushing the weird rainbow stuff on little kids. So they just stopped.
Yeah. By the way, that's interesting because this, right, and Tommy Robinson said something very interesting about immigrants coming to the country. Very, very interesting. He says, and I know that, this is going to sound very weird. He says, Muslims that come to our country, they don't contribute to the economy. 41% of them don't contribute to the economy at all. Well, the average Brit is at 24%. So they don't work. They find ways to make money in a very different way. They're all on entitlement. Not all. 41% don't contribute according to stats that we got.
Wow.
He says, at least illegal immigrants that come from Mexico, they want to work.
Yeah.
He says, we wish it was Mexicans coming to UK.
Yeah.
That's the way he broke it down. Wow. Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting.
He says, because they'll come, they'll get to work. The one thing, listen, I've been working with them for a long time. My experience has been phenomenal. They're workers, they're family, and believe it or not, a lot of conservative values, the way they live by. Now, listen, is there entitlement? Is there the other side as well? Yeah. Is there the illegal side that's coming in? Of course, you got to protect your citizens. But that perspective of UK, I was just with them on Saturday, of what they get versus what, Americans get. It's a very interesting thing.
Different.
Watch this here. This lady, before I play this clip to you, let me tell you what she's doing. Did you guys see this clip or no?
Not at all.
So she is saying that her family was killed by an illegal immigrant. She's standing ground against the anti-ICE activists. She's fighting men. And she's saying an illegal immigrant killed a family member of mine. Okay? Watch this clip. Go for it.
Wow, what's up?
What's she doing?
Why is no guy jumping in to help her?
Oh, I love her.
Oh my God!
Oh, she's taking everybody
Let me
on.
tell you, I mean,
Gangster.
dude.
Look at the keffiyeh. Why is that guy wearing a
Look at
Palestine?
Notice all the keffiyehs there.
Yeah.
The Gaza people in the ICE raids.
It's LA. They're trying to be stylish. Yeah, she's a freaking gangster.
I think I see a Mexican flag keffiyeh.
Whoever she is, that's tough. You can
That's a
pause her
tough
right
little
there.
lady.
But this is the part where some people have experienced the darker side of what's going on with illegal immigration. Like, dude, what are you doing? They took me out. They took a family member out, and you're seeing these types of stories. So, look, we hope this thing comes to an end, but these guys are not done. 1,500 cities. Guys, if you don't know the cities, Rob, can you put that Axios story? I'm going to come to you, Michael. Put that Axios map. Actually, do me a favor.
All weekend,
can you just put that article down for everybody to see what city it is so you can be ready this weekend for yourself? Just put it in the comment section. Go read this article if you can do that, Rob. Put it in the comment section. Protect your family. Talk to your wife. Talk to your kids. Talk to your family on what's going on. And maybe the next couple weeks as you're out, you know what I'm saying? If you believe in Second Amendment, this is a time for you to take advantage of the Second Amendment that you have when you're going around based on whatever laws you have in your state. But you got to be ready. You got to be. And by the way, nothing changes about our life. I'm coming to work the same exact way.
Yeah.
I'm coming to work in the same exact car. Nothing changes with me. So we're not like caving and being scared about any of these things. But you do have to be prepared in case shit hits the fan. You got to be ready for it. Go ahead, Michael.
Think about that woman's experience. It just shows you that even when you say illegal alien or whatever the libs want to call it, undocumented, dreaming, future American, whatever, it actually means a totally different thing to those two people. Because to the Kim Kardashians of the world who are whining and crying about the ICE raids, it's disgusting, and to all of these very wealthy, very powerful libs, illegal immigrant to them means the guy who mows the lawn, and the person who brings the food, and the person who picks the grapes or whatever. It's illegal immigrant to them means...
You're saying the guy that mows Kim Kardashian's lawn?
I'm not making a direct accusation, but that's what it means to them.
I mean, that's a black guy. That wouldn't be. Sorry about that.
That to them, illegal immigration is those nice slaves that we don't have to pay that much money to, that I don't ever have to even speak to because they don't talk my language. To people who don't have armies of cheap labor, to people who don't run big businesses, illegal immigration is, hey, these guys crossed a border that is completely controlled by a foreign terrorist organization, at least one of which actually worships Satan, MS-13. And they come in and they bring fentanyl that kills 75,000 Americans a year, and they come in and maybe they raped a girl that I know, and maybe they murdered a friend that I know, and they screw up my neighborhood, and I can't let my kids out at night. It just means a totally different thing for these people. And Kim Kardashian and her ilk are in such a bubble. They have no common experience with ordinary Americans. But guess who elected Trump? This time around, it wasn't Kim Kardashian, I'll tell you that. It was the ordinary Americans. It was that little lady on the street who was pushing back on those lunatics.
But Pat brings up a really good point that I think we have to highlight, is a lot of the Mexicans or a lot of people coming, immigrants, have contributed to society, do work.
Sure, totally.
I understand that there's the welfare state in the UK and obviously in California, but there's a big difference of people who just came in caravans 2 years ago, 3 years ago, than people who've been here 10, 15, 20 years, or the children of illegal immigrants that came here 20 years ago. Now they're 14, now they're 16. But there's a very nuanced discussion here. And I think what gets lost here is go after the gang members, not the gardeners. Okay, go after the criminals, not the construction workers.
Most of them are
they all
economic
get kind of lumped in together, and that's where we need to have a little nuance.
You actually
here.
have to go after the gardener. I'm sorry to say. I like the gardener. I'm sorry that Joe Biden opened the gates to them and Democrats and some squish Republicans. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that they put them in that bad situation. But most of the people who are coming over are not face-tattooed, Satan-worshipping criminals, though they work with them to get over here. Most of them are not refugees. Very few of them are political refugees. Most of them are economic migrants. And so the question is, okay, if we're just going to say, hey, the economic migrants get to stay and they get a path to citizenship and everyone else has to go, then you are effectively ramping up, not even just continuing, you're ramping up the incentive for that mass migration, and you're going to get millions and millions more.
I agree with you.
You know, it's crazy when you, Adam, when you come up with, like, let's just say we're about to change a compensation plan in a company, and I go to our 50 guys, okay, and I talk to all of them, and I know 60 of them have voted for this new comp plan, 40 of them have not. 60 want this new comp plan that's going to pay a bigger bonus for people that are working and lower the pay for the people that are retired, no longer wanting to talk to anybody. They don't want to do anything. We're just paying renewals over to them, right? Okay. The 40% that are no longer working, they're not liking the new comp plan. And they're going to bitch about it all day long. But if you became CEO, you're the new CEO of the company, based on this new comp plan that you just launched to the 50 people in the company. You with me? And 60% of them have agreed with you. And your number one issue you campaigned on was what? If you make me your CEO, I'm going to change your comp plan. That's going to benefit the people that are still working today, not the people that are no longer working. They're just kicking back. Okay, you become president. The people that are working versus non-working, who's going to be louder? The non-workers or the workers? Who's going to complain more? The non-workers are always going to seem like there's more of them. Yeah. But the workers are putting their head down, getting to work, right? What do you have to do? Now, imagine after you got elected as a CEO, now you say, well, these 40%ers are really changing my mind. I'm not going to change the comp plan. The guy got elected. Number one thing that he campaigned on was what? Border, immigration. Yep. That's number one. So guess what? Whether I like it, whether you like it, whether you don't like it, if you voted for him and you're like, well, I'm voting for him for issue number 4, doesn't matter. He got elected for issue number 1 was immigration. You don't have to like it. He's going to pursue his agenda, and you got to respect it. One doesn't come without the other. That's how he got elected. So you can come up with 50 different creative ideas. The people that voted him, they said, listen, I don't care what's going on. If you keep telling me America first, please be America first. Great. Totally get it. Now, you know, some of the America First people will come and say, yeah, Pat, go back to Iran and save your country. You know, go back to this, go back. And I understand the humor that comes with that. And some people actually believe that. It's not even humor. Some people really believe that some of the people should go back. And we experienced that when the whole H-1B visa debate came up. Yeah, totally. And guess what? I understand them as well. I actually also understand them as well. I totally get their argument as well. I understand. I had Thomas Russo on, and I'm sitting trying to really understand why his argument is the way he is. I get his argument. Don't agree with it, but I get his argument. I said the founding fathers built the country the way that kind of hurts your argument because they allowed guys like me to come here. They shouldn't have put it that way. They should have said the only people that can come here is if they're in a certain category that I can't come, right? However, I get his argument. I get his concern. To everybody that's complaining, that's what he campaigned on. Yeah. And whether you like it or not, guys, he's going to do what he's going to do, and he has been given permission. How many people voted for this guy? What's the number?
Almost 80 million.
80 million people voted for this guy. And the number one issue was this. So You know,
and by the way, it wasn't just the mean old white people or whatever. It's 46% of Hispanics.
No, you're right.
You
That's
know, 1
the
in 5
thing.
black guys.
Crazy. That's right, to think about that. All right, so let's go to the next story here, okay? Elon Musk, Trump, the love affair continues. Last week, Elon tweets, hey, Epstein, wait for it. It's going to drop, all this stuff. Trump comes out, you know, he should call me. I'm not going to call him. All this other stuff. Then the tweets are deleted. And then we get this tweet here from Elon that's June 11th saying, I regret some of my posts about President Trump. Last week, they went too far. And then some other stories came up that I think, Rob, can you verify this? Did they have a call together? Apparently, they may have had a call together yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
That was reported in the Wall Street Journal.
It was reported in the Wall Street Journal, right? That they had a call together. So Musk signaled a potential easing of tensions with President Trump by posting a heart emoji in response to Trump's statement. We had a great relationship. I wish him well, very well, actually. Made to reports. White House on Monday following a public feud that escalated last week over public disagreement. Musk's earlier criticism included labeling One Big Beautiful Bill outrageous, pork-filled. That's kind of how it started, and it got nastier and nastier and nastier. Is this a new clip, Rob, or is this
this is the post that apparently is Elon Musk apologizing or starting to apologize by hearting the message from President Trump.
I haven't
to
seen
Elon
that
Musk.
yet.
Oh, can we see this?
Yeah, I have to. This is actually a screenshot, but I can pull you the clip.
Oh,
Just give
okay.
me 1 second.
Got it. So, how much you think this whole exchange, and Rob, if you can also prepare the Besant clip of when the congressman's asking him about the punch in the face. What do you think about the story, the back and forth? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it over? Is he ever going to be able to come back from it? Is Trump always going to sit there and say, whoa, you went from me being a great leader, president, great patriot, to I'm a pedophile? Yeah. Can you recover from that? Where are you at with this?
You know, I knew that this relationship was going to blow up at some point. In fact, I talked to a friend of mine who's more intelligent than I, if you can imagine. And I said to him, this is around the election, I said, hey, what do you think about the Trump-Musk thing? He goes, well, look, it's obviously going to blow up. He said, I give it 4 months. And I said, okay. And I said, January 20th, February, March, April, May. I said, man, you got it off by 2 weeks, but you were very close. These two boisterous billionaires, both used to being in charge, getting their way on everything. And Musk, he could have a lot of influence at the White House, but he's not the president, right? So this obviously was going to come to a head. I happened to be in D.C., hanging around with some friends, in and out of the admin, making my way around.
Name drop right now.
I don't name drop.
Please don't do that
highly
to us,
placed sources.
Us innocent people. But go ahead, yes.
So but I'm hanging around D.C. Thursday, Friday, as this is going down, and with people who are to varying degrees close to the thing and giving me the scoop. And that's why I was so shocked to hear this ridiculous theory. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I don't know if you have thoughts on this.
Which one is this?
That it was all fake.
Yeah,
it was all a hoax. Yeah. It was all fake. It was a distraction. It was 5D chess. They planned it all out together. No, do you guys believe?
No,
does anyone believe? No,
I'm not gonna lie. I said it when it
camp.
happened as an option, but I mean, obviously it's not.
Hey, call me a pedophile.
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny?
Zinger, gotcha.
Look,
do it. See you on Monday, bro.
It actually, is
that Laura? Is that
no? That's Miranda Devine from the New York Post.
It's no relation.
No.
What's the conversation here?
This is where Miranda Devine asked Donald Trump, would you ever be able to forgive Elon Musk for the tweets? Is there any way to reconcile?
No, I just thought it was really.
Elon, is there anything that you can do to forgive him? Could you see that happening?
Well, I have no hard feelings. I was really surprised that happened. He went after a bill that's phenomenal. It's the best thing we've ever signed in this country, and that's phase one. Phase two, phase three, all of a sudden is. It all comes together. It's coming together so well. And when he did that, I was not a happy camper. So it's too bad.
You said he had problems. What kind of problems? I mean, is it the drugs?
I don't know what his problem is, really. I don't know. I haven't thought too much about it in the last little while. And
he just didn't get that.
I think he feels very badly that he said that, actually.
By the way, what a measured response.
Totally.
Are you kidding me? I freaking love that response.
I know.
Don't you love it?
The thing is, the media have been trying to pit those guys against each other the whole time. It hasn't worked. Then it finally blew up in a you're a pedophile kind of fashion. I mean, that's a big way to blow up. And then Elon came back and seems to have apologized, and Trump was very measured. And I think usually in these fights, we just pick a side. Most people, if they had to pick a side, would probably side with Trump on this. I love Elon. Elon's a great man. Elon really helped out conservatives when he bought X, and he really helped us out when he donated to the Trump campaign, brought over some of the tech bros. So really what we want is for them to get along again. And it seems like that's what's happening. And I know this is an even more controversial point, but on the merits, I actually think the bill is pretty good. I know you're not allowed to say that because it spends a lot of money. I actually think the big, beautiful bill is pretty good. It's much better, actually, than anything.
Let me ask you, let's see if you're going to be straight up with this.
Yeah.
Mr. Knowles at all, okay?
Knowles at all.
Born on March 18th. I'm trying to see your profile, okay? So this
wow,
is
that's a good memory.
He's good with birthdays.
That's my Pisces.
Yeah, that's what exactly.
True.
Well, the lady that I promoted to become the president of the insurance company, she's a Pisces, March 16th.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very good people to do business with. Were you a DeSantis guy a year and a half ago or Trump?
I was a Trump guy.
You were.
No,
I
I don't publicly endorse generally in Republican primaries, but I was a Trump guy. It's no knock on DeSantis. I really like DeSantis.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fait accompli. I thought Trump had the election, the primary locked up before it ever began.
Yeah.
So it's really I think DeSantis is great. I don't want this to be misconstrued, but I just felt Trump was the best president of my lifetime. Okay. He did a very good job. He formed a coalition that no Republican in my lifetime had formed, and I felt he was robbed in 2020, and I felt he needed a second act. And I thought, regardless, he was going to get a second act. So I never really had any doubt about the Trump train.
All right. So, Rob, do we have the Wall Street Journal story that says Musk retreats on Trump attacks after call from J.D. Vance, Susie Wiles? Vice President J.D. Vance and White House staff Susie Wiles urged tech billionaire Elon Musk to mend his public feud with President Trump during a call last Friday, with Musk de-escalating on Friday by posting on X, "I regret some of the stuff that I said," which is what we just read. Vance described as both an attack dog and a problem solver, refrained from criticizing Musk to facilitate peacekeeping. Per people familiar with the matter, the feud erupted on June 5th after Musk, a former close Trump advisor, criticized Trump's tax bill, and we know the rest. Is there a video on this? Because it's yellow here, Rob. Do you have a video on this one here?
I believe the video that I have for this was the one we just played. It was the Miranda Devine clip.
Got it. So when you read a story like this, Susie Wiles and JD, are you under the impression that Susie Wiles and Musk have a good relationship? Because there's another story that came out that says the ice, what do you call it? The ice lady or whatever it's called, right? Where, the conflict started with her kind of trying to protect the president, because that was one of the criterias where she said, "I will work for you, but you can't let her have an open door policy allowing anybody coming to the White House like you did in 2016. We got to protect a little bit more." What do you think your impression is of the role that Susie Wiles played or JD played in calming Elon Musk down?
Oh, you were asking me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you were
good.
asking over here. I think, it was reported that it was Susie and JD.
It was.
So
yes.
I assume, now look, I'm sure there were other people having conversations about this, but I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if it was more JD Vance, because JD Vance has this, that no one calls him the Iceman. He doesn't really have this polarizing personality. But it might well have been Susie Wiles. I mean, she's a very effective chief of staff. Trump has given her a lot of plaudits. She's held that job from the campaign very, very strongly. But beyond J.D. Vance and Susie Wiles, I think it was probably the public opinion surveys that started to, because there were surveys that were taken right after this went down, and very few people took Musk's side over Trump. There were a lot of people in the middle who didn't have any opinion or who didn't want them to be fighting or whatever, but I just don't think the battle played very well for Musk. And I think he's a very intelligent person. I think he kind of realized that. And in some ways, the fight, in as much as it was ideological over the battle, it was kind of the expression of a guy who's worked on his first political campaign. I remember my first political campaign. I wasn't donating $200 million to it, but I remember when I was on, I said, hold on, wait, why are we compromising on this issue? Wait, why are we making a deal with this guy? Wait, hold on. And if Musk's critique of the big, beautiful bill is that it didn't start to pay down the national debt, I just thought, hold on. The last time we balanced the budget, period, was 24 years ago, and it was only after the dot-com bubble, because we had the post-war, post-Cold War excess. So we just don't do that. The Tea Party failed to do it. The Bush era failed to do it. We don't do that. And you don't go from having zillion-dollar deficits to no deficit or to start paying down the debt overnight. That's not how Washington works. And in fairness to Musk, this is his first time really being involved on the ground in government. So I actually wonder if this was not just a kind of cri de coeur misunderstanding, and he realized, oh shoot, I calculated this wrong.
I think
that's pretty extreme, though, what he did. I mean,
it was extreme.
It's literally extreme on what he did. And I want to show a couple clips here, but before I
Yeah.
come to you, can you play this Trump clip? Rob, which one is the one they wanted to play, this or the other one?
So I have Donald Trump. This is where President Trump talks about the fight that allegedly happened between Scott Bessent and Elon Musk and whether or not he witnessed that.
Go for it. Can't hear it, Rob. Still can't hear.
Physical
Now I
with
can
the
hear.
Treasury
Go back a little
Secretary?
bit.
No. Ever see Elon Musk get physical with the Treasury Secretary?
No, I didn't.
And I tried to
They
ask.
did have an argument. But I didn't see. I didn't see a lot of physical.
A physical
And there was
argument.
this New York Times report that he did not want to talk about, Elon Musk, that alleged that he, towards the end of his time in the White House, was blurring the lines between recreational use of drugs and medicinal. Do you think he ever had drugs here at the White House?
I really don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. Look, I wish him well. You understand. We have a good relationship, and I just wish him well. Very well, actually.
Okay.
I don't know. I hope not. I hope not. We've got a great answer.
Couple things here. Let's start with Trump. Have you ever seen a more measured, respectable response from Donald Trump with this fight with Elon? Because any other Trump response would have been, "You're fat, you're gay, you're a druggie, you're
2016
stupid."
for
With
sure.
Elon, it's, "I wish him the best.
Yeah.
I'm praying for him. I hope he's doing great." I think you asked a very good question. What role did J.D. Vance and
Susie Wiles.
Susie Wiles play in convincing Elon to say that? I don't even know if they had any. I don't know what they did, but I'm pretty sure they said, "Don't go in on him, Trump. Be measured. Take the higher road." Because in my opinion, you're right. Elon looked at what he did and goes, "Damn, I messed up."
Yeah.
Okay, you know he messed up because when he deleted the tweets.
Yeah.
When you start deleting tweets as if you can delete a tweet, but you're not going to delete someone's memory like it's Men in Black and Will Smith. Hey, look here. Boom. We all know what you said, dude.
No, you know,
We all knew what you did. Hold on one sec.
Yeah.
So I think he messed up, and I think he realized, oh my God, I'm a man without a home because I see what's going on here in LA. I'm not going to go become a Democrat. The whole narrative over the weekend was, is Elon going to start funding the Democrats? 0% chance of that.
Right.
So I think Monday came around. He goes, what the hell did I do? And Rob, you'll appreciate this one. There's a very famous Seinfeld episode where George rage quits on a Friday, George Costanza. And he goes and tells Jerry, and he goes, "Yeah, I quit. I got the hell out." He goes, "What are you going to do now?" He goes, "I didn't think that far ahead." He goes, "Just go back in on Monday and pretend like it never happened." And he goes, "Never happened? Never happened." He goes, "You're an emotional guy. Nobody takes you seriously. Just go back in on Monday and pretend like it never happened." So George woes back in on Monday. Everyone's looking around like, what the hell are you doing here? Sits down at the table. Everyone's looking. The boss goes, "What the hell are you doing here? Get the hell out. You're fired again." So that's what happened to Elon, is that he came to his senses and he's like, why am I going to war with Trump?
Yeah.
I need Trump.
Yeah.
And that's where I think he's at.
Okay. Is this Bessent and the question that's being asked? Go for it, Rob.
So far, so good. Okay, I was just curious because I know Elon Musk body checked you at the White House. So just no animosity to Elon Musk, right? You know that? That's what I heard. So you believe That's what I heard. you believe what you read on Breitbart is well, what listen, you're telling us, Congressman. I didn't know if it's too sensitive for you. I won't ask that question, but let me move on. I will take South Carolina over South Africa any day. Mr. Secretary.
Shots fired.
Did he just say, "I will take South Carolina over South Africa"?
What does that mean
If you're
exactly?
making
Is he from South Carolina?
He's from South Carolina, and Elon, he's like saying, "Who you want to?"
Well,
gotcha. I see
listen,
what you're saying.
then let me tell you.
player.
Then what Trump said and what Bessent said, something happened. Then there's no
think so.
question.
I think
It's
so.
done. Because I like that Trump said something did happen, and Bessent just said he will take some. I mean,
He didn't say it didn't happen. That's for sure.
he didn't say.
But does that make you happy? That and we talked about this on Tuesday. Like Michael, this is I love that. It's like alphas in the room fighting for what's the best in the country. And guess what? That's what guys do. They punch each other in the face.
This was
what
my
happens.
point. This was
That's what
my
guys
point.
do, bro. We watch football. We drink beer.
We punch each other in the face.
We run the deficit. That's what we do.
Chest bump the Treasury Secretary. That's what we do, man.
Well,
But
Elon's,
How you like that?
This to me
We'd cup check.
is
How you
why
feeling?
I brought up the whole hoax. You know, it was all a farce, whatever thing.
Yeah.
Is because I remember when I was barely involved in politics, I did not take conspiracy theories very seriously. And then when I got a little bit involved in politics, I thought everything was a grand conspiracy, right? And then I got really involved in politics, where I knew a lot of the key players, and I was seeing things happen firsthand. And I started to realize, I kind of went back to the first one, and I started to realize, no, man, sometimes things just happen. Because even these people are not omnipotent, and sometimes they have bad days, and sometimes they've been stressed, and they haven't slept for a week, and sometimes they body check the Treasury Secretary, and sometimes the bros just call each other pedophiles, and then they got to make up on Twitter, you know? And it happens, and there's going to be fallout. I would be surprised if Trump brings Elon totally back into the fold after this.
Let me ask you
I just
this
think,
question.
you know, to your point, he probably went a little bit too far, but they're going to kiss and play nice. I mean, Elon's a big figure in Republican politics as of the last 6 months.
Let me ask you this. With Trump, that his level of trust pre the tweet of Epstein to now, what is his level of trust on Elon's temperament from a week and a half ago to today? What do you think it is?
Yeah, it would be very difficult. If you were a guy as circumspect and prudent and you keep it real tight like Trump does, it would be hard to unsee the tweet, I think. It would be probably imprudent to unsee the tweet.
What would you say? He went from, Tom, what would you say? From where he was at 2 weeks ago, what percentage he had trust? Let's just say he trusted Trump, Musk, whatever. It's not 100%.
92%.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what do you think it is? Where did he go from and where is it at today?
I don't think it's zero, because Trump has worked with a lot of people that he understands that there are two arenas, the arena privately and the arena publicly.
I get that, Tom. What I'm asking you is, where do you think it was 2 weeks ago? Where do you think it's at today?
I'm trying to tell you in less words than Adam would use. I think it's probably 10%. I think it's down at 10%. I don't
Where
think
was
it's
it
zero.
2 weeks ago?
Huh?
Where was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago it was probably 85%, 80%.
Oh, that's a big drop, Tom.
That's huge.
You're saying it, Vinny, where are you at? From 85 to 10?
I would say, honestly, he trusted him 70 when it started, because Trump doesn't trust it. He's even said it. I don't trust anybody. He doesn't trust the ABC reporter that was fired. He doesn't trust anybody. So I would go 70%. He trusted him because the investment that he did to make him win. I'd say he's about 25 right now. He could still use him, but he's not going to freaking, guess what? You're not going to see him with freaking X bouncing around in his freaking head in the White House anytime soon. And then he got punched by Scott Besson, who's, I didn't know this till yesterday, he's a gay guy. You know what the hell that does to your ego? You got clocked by a gay dude? That's not
But he's
good.
like one of the straightest gay guys you ever
Yeah.
saw. You know what I mean?
There's gays and then there's.
But to
listen,
Pat's
I respect these
point-
guys. Like, yeah, I'm gay. Michael, I'm gay. Then yes, like that person is a whole different.
But to Pat's question specifically, you take a look at it this way. He didn't get angry and yell at the boss and walk out of a meeting. He said, I think this bill is a disaster. That is a statement about a big project everybody's working on that is not helpful at all.
An
and it's
essential
inflammatory.
project, by the way.
And then he comes back and goes, surprise, you're in the Epstein file, and then whatever he said there. So there you go, DJT. That just
You
now,
have 3.5 years. I have 40 years.
That
I mean, he
goes
just
very
went
personal.
On and on and on.
So
and
for
on.
me, Pat, that suddenly goes personal. That's a second shot. And then it's like, and then the other little things in there, it's like, so maybe I'll recalibrate it. It's trust him 75%. But remember, he was defending him and he kept him in the chair. Everybody's in agreement on that. Trump kept him in the chair when others, as recently as 38 days ago, were trying to push it out. And then you get personal. So I think take it 75 to 10. But I think it's
At
a
this
big
point,
drop.
okay, so maybe here's a different quote. Were you going to give your
Yeah, I'll
score?
give you. I love how Tom took 10 minutes to just say a number, but he called me out. I think he went from 69%,
which is
down to
20 less
somewhere
than you,
between
my
6 and
little
9%.
sweetie.
Okay.
That's an Elon Musk number.
So then here's the next question. The next question is, in a setting like this with where he's at right now, go a year ago, he needed Elon.
100%.
June, last year when we were in Hamptons and all of a sudden he got shot. I'm like, what did you just say?
Yeah.
He needed him in a big way. Okay. How bad does he need him today compared to how much he needed him a year ago?
Night and day.
That's a complete different
Night and
score.
day.
I'll come to you first.
He needs to make sure that he's not an enemy.
I agree.
He needs to make sure of that because
Yeah.
that $200 million can go the other direction too. And X is the one, it's the smallest of the big ones, but it's still a big tech platform that it's the one that's favorable to us. And it's the only one that's favorable to us. So he can't make an enemy out of him. He doesn't need him. I mean, he got the job. And on the big beautiful bill point, and I think this is really what got under Trump's skin. They've been working on this for a long time. This will be the signature legislative achievement of this year, and it's pass fail. I talked to Scott Besson about this a month and a half or 2 months ago. It's pass fail. If the bill fails, then you have the largest tax increase in American history, and the economy is going to falter because of that, and Trump's agenda is going to be really, really impeded. So they have to get something like this through, not to mention the immigration funding, not to mention the military funding, not to mention so on and so forth. So it has to happen. And for your biggest advisor, or one of your biggest advisors, to come out and say, I hate the thing that you have to get done, man, that's going to throw a wrench even if you don't call me a pedophile.
Not helpful.
Not helpful at all. So look, he doesn't need the Doge anymore. He doesn't want the advice anymore, it seems. He just needs to make sure that platform and those 200 million don't go in the other direction. And I think he's doing a good job of maintaining that.
So in the past, when you go to a very big person that you need to help you become a president, Nixon went to Billy Graham. Billy Graham writes about this in his book. And Billy Graham got his back. And then after he got in, there was a lot of conflicts back and forth. Billy Graham said, I will never endorse a president ever again. And it was nasty, okay? All right, so John F. Kennedy. They needed the mob with Chicago, Dewey, the 8,000 votes, the dead, whatever. And then eventually later on after they win, they're like, well, we never needed Chicago in the first place anyways.
Sure.
We're going to win without you. Were there some promises made to them, where that came back afterwards? And then they're like, what happened? You told us you're going to do this, and now you're coming after us? We're going to take you out. You're done. Who knows? Hey, Billy Graham, who is baptized 250 million people in his lifetime. This guy went and spoke in Korea. 1.5 million people showed up to hear him speak. That's going to be translated by somebody else. Billy Graham's level of influence was, you needed his endorsement. This is a guy that would go on Leno. This is a guy that would go on Johnny Carson. This is a guy, he would go on Johnny Carson regularly. I don't know if he went on Leno, but he went on Johnny Carson. It's phenomenal when you watch it. You needed his endorsement, right? Today, that guy's Musk. Did the president make some promises to Musk if he helps him win?
Great point.
And then not keep
What
him?
would the promise have been? The big sticking point on the bill was the EV credit. But you got to remember, going back months now, Trump said, I'm going to get rid of the EV credit. Yeah. And Musk even came out and said, I'm okay with that. Now, maybe he wasn't okay with that. But my question then for Musk, and maybe this just gets to his political innocence, if the EV credit really were the thing that mattered so much to him, why didn't he bring it to the president? Why didn't he bring it to Susie Wiles? Why didn't he bring it to? Why didn't he?
How do you know he didn't, though?
It is my impression that he didn't. Now, maybe he did, but it is my distinct impression that he did not. And I think a lot of this would not have happened had he brought it to him and gotten a clear answer either way. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. I don't work in the White House, but it is my distinct impression that it didn't come up.
So just so you know, in this case, I am on Trump's side because I think Trump is 100% America first. Elon's got businesses that's international, and his leanings could be in a different place.
He's more libertarian. He's more pro-free trade.
And to be quite honest with you, what he's building, it's a good thing when you fight a girlfriend or you fight a friend, and let's just say people are drunk, and you have 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, you gather all the intel you needed. All you needed.
Yeah.
And it's like, bam, 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 bam. Oh.
Yeah.
Take some notes.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to go to dinner? But it's here.
Right.
And I think just in that 2-hour exchange on X, I gathered so much intel from Elon just for myself long term.
Yeah.
Not even for Trump, for my sake. My kids, long-term planning, vision, all of that stuff. I gathered a lot of intel. But the part where I will side with Elon is the following. In anything you do with business, with sales, with parenting, with marriage, with any of that, if you overpromise and underdeliver, you just created an enemy. So in this case, if he promised Musk something and he didn't deliver, Musk's going to sit there and say, dude, I took a break for all my companies, and I went and lived in Pennsylvania.
I tanked my companies.
Exactly. Yeah. For you to help you win, and you don't want to help me out with these two things because now Susie Wiles says, look, we're in here, we got to move on, and all the people in your ears. That could it's going to sound weird, that could cause a certain level of rage and anger in Iran that may not affect Trump, but it may affect people that come after Trump. That could be an issue that we have to deal with for decades to come.
Yes.
That's the only
And in
difference.
fairness to Elon, by the way, people are talking about the one sticking issue as the EV credits, and maybe that's it. That's a real personal kind of issue. But in fairness to Elon, I think maybe even the more likely option is he went in there and he thought it was going to be really freaking cool to take a chainsaw to the federal government, because he's super libertarian and he's a tech bro and he's whatever. And
He saw Javier Milei
the
do the
Javier
afuera
Milei
thing. He's like,
chainsaw.
"I'm
He
gonna be
got it.
afuera."
I was there when he got his
Milei
chainsaw.
gave him a
CPAC.
big chrome chainsaw.
Right. And I think that he made all these cuts, and he was promising a lot with Doge, and then he comes out, sees this big beautiful bill, and realizes that the federal deficit in 1 year is going to wipe out any cuts he's ever possibly going to make. And his reaction might have been ideological, and in a personal way, which is saying, "Hold on, all I've done is for naught." I don't actually think all he did was for naught, but it could have been. It might not have been just like, "Hey, why didn't you help my companies?" It might have been a more principled ideological stance. But again, one where you think like, I guess to your point, maybe you got to manage expectations going in. But what you thought we were going to balance the budget?
I get that, bro. But you okay? So let's say in your mind, you make 200 promises to 200 different people before you run for office. Okay?
Yeah.
And you're such a player that you know you don't have to keep 140 of them.
Yeah.
And you're still going to keep them. Let's just say, like, it's okay. They're not going to do anything. I know too much on these guys, and they're not going to do shit. Let's just say you're like at that level. There's going to be 10, 20 names. You made a promise. You better freaking deliver. And on that 10, 20, there usually is a one name that you better deliver.
Yeah.
And
that name is Elon.
That's the point. So that's where I'm going with this, where, again, I don't know. I'm not on the inside. I don't get a phone call, that say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I'm just, talking, spitballing here. But let's go to the next story. Let's go to the next story here. Next story I want to go to is NATO. Tom, I'm coming to you with this one here, and then Michael, I'm going to come to you next. Russia could strike NATO by 2030, alliance call to boost air defense 5x. Okay, so I'll read these three, Tom, and then I'm just going to tee you up, and then you take it from there. Okay. So, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte warned at Chatham House in London on Monday that Russia's defense production outpaces NATO, stating, "In terms of ammunition, Russia produces in 3 months what the whole NATO produces in a year, and its defense industrial base is expected to roll out 1,500 tanks, 3,000 armored vehicles, and 200 Iskander missiles this year alone." He cautioned Russia could be ready to use military force against NATO in 5 years, urging a 5-fold increase in air defense systems. He highlighted NATO's industrial lag, noting, "Take Patriot, the most important air defense system we have, the most advanced. You will get it in 10 years if you order it today," and called for a 400% increase in air and missile defense, saying, "We need 5 times as many systems to defend ourselves against missiles." He proposed NATO members raise combined defense spending to 5% of GDP, including 3.5% on core traditional military costs and 1.5% on security-related investments, including infrastructure and building industrial capacity. Tom, I'll just pause there, okay, on this story. Then I'll go to the one with NATO seeking to include Ukraine funds. But your thoughts on this? Is he just selling? Because this sounds like a salesperson. Impose a bunch of fear, scare the crap out of them, place a massive order of equipment and supplies and military weapons that we need.
Yeah, well, basically, Mark Carney has a problem. Let's start with Canada. He has a problem. And I could give you a different headline. Woman tries to figure out how to pay dinner check when boyfriend fails to return from bathroom. That's really what Mark Carney's got here. And Trump is a boyfriend that says, you have to pay for your own dinner. And that's what happened. So basically, Canada is announcing, hey, we're going to increase our spending to 5%. Why 5%? Because 5% is what they all looked around the table and said, if dad doesn't pay for dinner, it really is going to take all of us taking about 5% of GDP. So that's what happened. And they're trying to get all the NATO alliance together. And I take you back to Zelensky has the incident in the Oval Office with Vance and Trump, and then goes straight to the UK and to France, who says, don't worry, we'll back you up. But remember, their money was half loan, half gift. Yeah. So you got to pay it back. And how are you going to pay it back? How about some rare earth minerals? And so NATO is forced to pay its own way right now. And even as they support Ukraine, they're scared to death of Russia, and they're realizing, we really need real defense here. And now Trump has said, I'm not paying for all dinner. You got to pay for some of it yourself. So that is the first thing, is that Trump has reset who pays for what with NATO, Pat. That is point one. And you're seeing all these. And yes, hey, we got to raise this up and we got to buy some of the stuff on our own. That's number one. And number two is they're trying to loop in the support of Ukraine. And they know if they do that, that's going to rev up Russia even more, who said, I told you part of me starting this was I was really irritated because you wanted Ukraine to go into NATO. And so now they realize that they need defenses to kind of balance the books here. That's what's going on.
Okay, Michael, your thoughts.
Look, there is a realpolitik issue with Russia. I hate to give the neocons any credit at all, but there is a realpolitik. We think about politics only in the perspective of domestic ideologies. Mm-hmm. And in that way, Putin is kind of based because he builds cathedrals and is anti-globalist. And so I get it. However, they do have a lot of missiles pointed at us. And so from the perspective of the United States, Trump has taken a more diplomatic approach with Putin, which I think is a good idea. But if you're Europe, I get why you're freaking out. I understand. And also, to your point, I get why you're worried if all of a sudden your free military defense that you've had for 70 years is suddenly looking like you might have to chip in a little bit for it. But again, this all comes down to the huge, huge mismanagement of the Ukraine issue. Because this is where I'll knock the neocons. For them, it's so black and white, and everything is either you're Neville Chamberlain appeaser, or you got to bomb the entire world. And there is a role for buffer states. You remember buffer states? I mean, getting to what you alluded to about Ukraine being included in the NATO funding. I thought Ukraine wasn't in NATO. Buffer states are a good thing, and I get it. I was just in Hungary, at CPAC Hungary. And the Hungarians have a very balanced view because they actually take seriously what Russia's thinking. And if I'm Vladimir Putin and I see NATO beginning to encroach a little bit more and the European Union encroaching a little bit more into Ukraine, I might view that as an unacceptable security risk. And maybe that gives me the excuse to go in and do something that I've been planning to do for 20 years because I think that the fall of the Soviet Union was the worst event of the 20th century. It could be all of those things combined. But it just seemed like we bumbled it. And so when people call to stop just giving a blank check to NATO, when people call to make Europe start paying for some of its own defense, in part that is deserved because NATO has screwed up a lot. NATO has, if you want to say you're just a defensive alliance, then don't lead aggressive wars of regime change that create perverse incentives around the world. In part, it's like what the Dr. Fauci thing. Why don't we trust the healthcare people anymore? Because they screwed up, man. And so you can't blame ordinary people for taking a rational response and saying, hey, I'm not going to give you a blank check of my belief or my money.
No, I mean, that's a good... And by the way, this leads to, Adam, I'm going to come to you right after this. NATO seeks to include Ukraine funds in a new spending target. Allies are set to allow contributions to Ukraine defense to count towards a new 5% GDP defense spending budget. What a freaking ridiculous... Did you understand what they're saying?
Yeah.
You get what they're saying? Like, hey, if you contribute to your budget percentage, but if you're giving it to help out Ukraine, that counts towards your budget. What does that even mean? With a preliminary draft of the summit declaration stating that they will allocate at least 3.5% of economic output to core defense requirements by 2032, plus a additional 1.5% to protect infrastructure, defense networks, and ensure civil preparedness. The declaration to be finalized at the summit in Hague also proposes eliminating defense trade barriers, per Bloomberg. One-page draft, a shift from last year's 5,000-word statement omits Ukraine's NATO membership prospects, and last year's $40 billion Kiev pledge focusing solely on defense spending to avoid public disputes with President Trump, who has pushed for a 5% target as NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte aims to deliver a win for Trump by ensuring U.S. engagement, according to people familiar with the matter. Adam, your thoughts?
So this 5% number is not a small number because right now the number is 2%.
Right.
And most countries aren't even paying 2%. So now Trump's saying, yeah. 5%? There's only one country, I think, in all of Europe that's paying 4%, which is Poland. And because they're, quote unquote, next. Here's my whole point, whether it's NATO or any of these issues. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm saying this loudly and proudly. Because in 2016, I would have never said this. Trump was right about everything. Make NATO pay. We're like, oh my God, he's upsetting our allies. Yeah, because they haven't paid anything. Start paying up. Build the wall. Walls are racist. Why would you say that? Turns out we need a damn wall here in America here, buddy. China, the tariffs, they're ripping us off. Why would you do that? That's racist. No. Apparently now they're finalizing this deal in China. The woke radical left are psychopaths. Yeah. He was right. So all these things that at the end of the day, 2016, there was people that caught on early. Respect to you. I get it.
You're welcome.
But most of us weren't ready. Stop it, Vinny. You didn't.
I was there.
You weren't there.
Yes, I was. 2016, yes, I was.
Most Americans weren't necessarily ready for that because it was such a drastic change. If you're watching any of the media from Obama to Trump, but looking back at it, everything that he said in 2016, the Mexicans are coming. Some of them are okay, but they're rapists and drug. It's all been true.
Yeah.
So NATO is just one component of all the truth telling that he was saying. So I got to give respect
I just like
to
to
Trump.
fact check. I was there the entire time. You find one clip of me saying anything wrong, I'll give you $1,000.
There was no clips of you in 2016.
Yes, there was.
No,
That's
you
why I
were
left
doing
Los
stand-up
Angeles
with the
because I was
Wayans
talking shit.
brothers, bro.
No, I was talking shit on stage. And guess what? When comedy club
Show me
owners,
a clip.
comedy club
Show me a
owners were
clip.
like, "Hey, you can't talk positive
Show me
about
a
Trump."
clip.
That's the truth. I've always been that guy.
Show me a clip.
You're just coming around. I've always been that guy since day one.
Show me one clip.
Fact check. Fact check live.
Notice said he doesn't have one clip.
What do you mean? What,
Listen, guys.
Of my stand up at the Laugh Factory? I'll show you.
Guys, either step up to Vincent and Musk's level.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I don't want to hear
I'm done with
$1,000.
this,
Listen, buddy,
right? I'm
Adam,
done
you
with
play the gay guy. I'm going to play the
Either
straight
Adam,
guy.
Adam, somebody gets a
Miami
box
or
eyes.
Miami.
I'm not doing it. All right, let's continue. So Donald Trump says U.S.-China deal done as two sides restore trade war truce. What does that mean? President Trump announced on Truth Social on Wednesday that U.S.-China trade deal is done. Rob, if you got it, I wouldn't mind just reading the whole thing if you got the tweet. Done, stating our deal with China is done, subject to final approval with President Xi and me receiving a Geneva truce that includes China supplying rare earths upfront. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent testified if China will course correct by upholding its end of the initial trade agreement we outlined in Geneva last month, then a big, beautiful rebalancing of the world's two largest economies is possible. The agreement reached after 2 days of talks in London. Lancaster House addresses tensions over Chinese rare earth exports and U.S. chip export controls with China's Vice Minister of Commerce, Li Chenggang, great name, describing the talks as rational, in-depth, and candid, expressing hope that progress will be conducive to strengthening trust between China and the U.S. Both nations agreed in Geneva last month to slash tariffs by 115%. 115 points, providing a 90-day window to resolve the trade war. As I said, our deal is done. Full magnets and any necessary rare earths will be supplies up front by China. Likewise, we will provide China what we agreed to, including China students using our colleges and universities, which has always been good with me. Interesting. We are getting a total of 55% tariffs. China's getting 10%. Relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Your thoughts on this?
I feel vindicated, actually, because with Trump and the tariffs, there were three things he could have been after. He could have been after getting a better trade deal. He could have been after reshoring American jobs. He could have been after getting the revs from the tariffs. But he couldn't have been after all three at once, because that you can't. If you negotiate and get a better deal, you're not going to get the jobs. You're not going to get the revenue. If you get the jobs, you're not going to get the revenue because you're going to have the things made and bought in America. So the question was always, which one of those three is he after? And there are people in his administration who don't want better trade deals with China, who don't want, they want to, well, I think Peter Navarro would be open about this. I think Peter Navarro is the openly pro-tariff, let's reshore American jobs guy, and I think there are other people. So, but there are others who were like Elon, very pro-free trade. We don't want tariffs. We don't want, and so what was it going to be? And I thought the whole time, Trump has the mainstream view. And the mainstream view, not the hyper-ideological view, the mainstream view is, no, we're getting ripped off. We want a better deal. And so then when it comes down to kicking the Chinese students out of the colleges or whatever, Trump was it's so funny. He says now, it was always fine with me. The administration was saying these guys are spies. They're sneaking biohazards into America, and then you had all the chattering class reacting, saying, that's right. We need to kick every Chinese guy out of the country. This is insane. We need to. But with Trump, it's always a negotiation. It's never, this is his great strength. It's how he builds a coalition of people who disagree with each other on a ton of things. He's just always kind of working. He's weaving. What did he say on Joe Rogan?
Yeah,
he's always
that's
weaving. He's always weaving.
Michael Knowles.
This was a long
the
weave. Yeah.
He also said
Adam,
that.
thoughts?
Schultz. Show me, don't tell me. Show me the money. If you've ever seen Cuba Gooding Jr. and Jerry Maguire, show me the money. How much do you trust Trump that the deal is done? I'm not at 100%. I hope he's not just, tweeting this because it's kind of done-ish. Because as much as I don't trust Xi or his people whatsoever, I also don't necessarily trust Trump to tell us 100% if this is 100%.
You're saying this might be a weave. This might be a tactic.
I'm just saying, you just said he's a deal maker. Maybe he's announcing the deal before the deal's done.
You just said
and
he
they're
was right
still
about
wheeling and
everything.
dealing. I don't know. Those are big issues.
This is a big deal.
I think he was right to take
Big,
on
beautiful
China.
deal.
PBD, do you think that this deal is done? Or do you want to hear Vincent or Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick come out and say, yes, handshake, picture, deal is done?
What is this, Rob?
This is Scott Howard Lutnick coming out and saying that
boy
the trade
Howard.
deal is done.
Can you press it? Is this just now?
This was, I believe, Wednesday morning.
Is he saying it's done?
Take a listen.
So the idea is we're going to go back and speak to President Trump and make sure he approves it. They are going to go back and speak to President Xi and make sure he approves it. And if that is approved, we will then implement the framework that we have worked hard over these last 2 days.
That doesn't mean it's done to me. It means it's kind of done-ish and we're waiting on approval.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, for example, we've been working on a negotiation the last, how many weeks would you say, Tom?
Almost 3 weeks.
Okay, 3 weeks. And let me tell you, to tell you it's nasty would be an understatement. You know when the announcement's being made? Today in 38 minutes.
Oh, shit, what's going on?
No, literally, in 38 minutes, I'm jumping on a Zoom to announce to people what deal we just brokered.
Okay.
And there's going to be 20 people on that Zoom, 25 people on that Zoom. Do you know when the deal got signed? Last night.
Huh.
Not one thing has been, and it's a maybe massive deal that'll be announced at noon here that we have a Zoom to talk to these people, okay? We signed a contract yesterday. I could have said it 7 days ago. I could have said it 4 days. I could have said it 3 days ago. But to me, I'm not going to sit here and say anything. All these guys have done bigger deals. So you got Howard Lutnick is, what do you call it?
Kenneth Fitzgerald.
Kenneth Fitzgerald, freaking $3.5 billion guy. This guy's been around. He's battle tested. He's a stud. He went through the controversy, 9/11, everything. So tough, thick skin. My CTO worked for him for 15 years, so he's a stud of a guy. You got Trump has been doing deals for how long? Since he probably was a kid, 6, 7 years old. He's been doing deals, right? And there's an element of publicly, announcing it to hold him accountable. But there's a pattern here. I was so excited about Panama Canal. Deal didn't get done.
Yeah.
I was excited about a lot of things that were announced that it's done. That's not getting done. Epstein's going to be dropped in 2 weeks. Didn't get done.
Yeah.
Didn't get done. Didn't get done. So I don't know. I mean, let's just say if 8 out of 10 deals get done with this approach, keep taking the approach. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of chaotic announcements that is not yet finalized, and I don't think it's a good look. So I hope the deal is done. Trust me, I want the deal to be done probably more than anybody here. I want the deal to be done, but I would much rather say it's been signed. It's been signed. Mm-hmm. Here's what's in it. Boom. Versus, well, we got to go to the president. He's got to agree. We got to go to Trump. Xi's got to agree. And then we got to get the stuff that we agreed on last 2 days. And by the way, you know what happened? Some of the things you negotiate on. So we're negotiating something. I made it very clear everything that I want. Contract comes back. They added 3 things to it. I never agreed to this. I'm done. I'm out. And it's like, what happened? Well, why did you add it? Well, we don't think it's a big deal. You don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah. Why don't you bring it up?
So now if I would have announced it, now it's like you lose credibility if you announce it. So it's like now, well, you put yourself out there. You said the deal is good. Now we just added 2 things. So I don't know.
Now, I don't want to create controversy, but it sounds like you're kind of agreed with me on that one.
No, I think you announce after you sign.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
Show me the money, and then you can announce.
Bro, who was a couple players that the NBA announced the deal is good? A-Rod. Was A-Rod supposed to go to the Red Sox? I thought A-Rod was supposed to go to the Red Sox. Is that who was supposed to go to the
I actually don't remember.
Tom, wasn't A-Rod supposed to go to the Red Sox? They announced it. Do you know the story? A-Rod became a Red Sox player in 2003. Do you know who announced it on ESPN?
Who was it?
Dude.
Oh, so that's when we got him.
So the
right
Red Sox are about to announce they're getting the deal. Everything is done.
Wow.
I didn't even know that.
Everything is done. They announce it on ESPN. Yankees find out. They come over. Boom. Cut it. They overlap. They take him over. Why did you announce it, Red Sox? Why did you announce it? So to me, a lot of this has happened in sports many times. This has happened in business a lot. Just don't say anything till it's flipping signed.
It's the most transparent administration in history. This might be the downside of that.
I think there's a lot of playing to the market. There's been a lot of playing to the market. And what this is a technique, and it's called leak the LOI and keep the harbor of safety for the negotiating partners. Very simple. Leak the LOI. We have a framework we've worked very hard on for the past 2 days. That's an LOI, like a letter of intent. However, our CEO, we're going to make sure he approves it. Their CEO, now there's the harbor of retreat so that no CEO loses face if the deal shifts. But now Wall Street likes it. Hey, I think the merger's on. And it's a positive thing for both stocks. So leak the LOI, save the harbor back. It's, that's kind of what I see here. And I agree with Pat. You've seen this repetitively. I'd rather have... This is very positive, and we have one more step, but we're going to take with Xi and Trump. But we could be there, but we'll let you know. I would respect that statement a lot and understand that the political, you put it out there for the political wins, and you're also playing to the market a little bit. So, but come on, at some point in time, you got to make it happen.
You know who also doesn't believe
Trump? What I say to you is, if it's working, keep doing it. It's not working.
That's right.
It's not working. I was hoping we would have Panama Canal. My biggest thing was we need the Panama Canal because that's one way of holding China accountable. We don't have it yet.
You know what's funny though? What this
unless I missed something, Indian Parliament didn't.
By the way, you know what
what
I hope is in this agreement. You know what I hope is in this agreement. Do you know what I hope is in this agreement? I hope they said get out of the way with C.K. Hutchinson getting in the way of the Panama Canal deal. Don't get in the way. Allow the deal to be done.
I
wouldn't want that in that deal. And I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping it is.
Or whatever that is.
I'm hoping it is. I'm just going to say I'm hoping it is.
What's kind of funny about what all these little deals, though, point out, everyone elected Trump because they think about the N-word. Not that one and not the nuclear one.
Michael!
But, no, not that one, not that one. But national.
Nagasaki!
Yeah, no, it was nationalism. They think Trump is this hardcore nationalist. All the complaints about him, first time, second time. He's an isolationist. He's going to try to return us to some yeoman fantasy or whatever.
Yeah.
No, man. Trump's vision of politics is imperial. Trump's vision of politics is engaged with the world. He's trying to take back the Panama Canal, which he should have done, and Jimmy Carter was a lunatic for giving it up. He should take Greenland. I don't really want all of America's evil top hat because I don't want to be countrymen with Canadians, but I see that point. He wants to be engaged with China. He wants to be engaged with the world. The distinction between him and the liberal globalists and neocons is that he wants to do it in a way that is beneficial to the American interest. So it's just to this point on his coalition that he's formed with all these disparate groups. How does he bring together hardcore libertarians and hardcore war hawks? How does he bring together free traders and protectionists? How does he bring together all these groups? He has this kind of weird synthesis of politics, which is no, we want America to be strong. We want America to lead, to be engaged, to be rich, to be powerful. We're going to punch back at those protesters when they hit us, but we're going to do it in a way that benefits us. To me, that rewrites a lot of the rules of trade and international security.
The market doesn't necessarily believe Trump because they're kind of calling him the little boy that cried deal. Because if this deal was done and the market did trust Trump, what he's saying, the market would be going bananas today. Are you kidding me? But the market's down and it's even flat in some components. So if it were me and I thought that a Trump-China tariff deal was done, the market should be up 1,000 points. It's down 24.
That's a good point.
So the market's saying, I don't know about this, Trump.
The Dow is down 24. NASDAQ's up. NYSE is up. S&P 500
flat.
is up.
It's barely up.
Yeah. Well, let me read. Do we want to go? Yeah, let's just wrap it up with these two stories.
Numbers are pretty clear.
Okay, so Luigi Mangione, Remember Luigi Mangione, this guy that killed the
left savior,
yeah,
their leader.
He just turned 27 years old. If you were wondering, he turned 27 years old, and my phone blows up yesterday. Okay, and he writes this letter, writing 27 things he's grateful for. Okay,
that's the letter,
and it goes viral everywhere. If you can zoom in, okay, my friends, my family, the many talented, generous individuals. Letters he's received, the MDC mailroom, memes, and then number 7, the countless books I've been sent. While I've read many of them, vast majority of them, I've loved facilitating this collective practice in Sudoku and have distributed these books to many grateful inmates. My favorites include Ayn Rand's Anthem and Patrick Bet-David's Your Next 5 Moves. And Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451.
Who sent him the book is the question.
Listen. Somehow, some way, that book is in prisons now.
Wow.
Okay? And he's reading it, Your Next 5 Moves. And my phone literally is blowing up saying, hey.
This can't be real. Is this real?
This is real.
This was by, okay, zoom out a little bit, Rob. Can you go to the story that posted this?
Sure. I believe it was TMZ yesterday.
TMZ.
And this is sent to him while he was in prison, right?
He posted this in publicly. This is right there. This is TMZ. Go in. That's the letter. Okay, go down, Rob, and then go to the story that TMZ posted.
Dude, you are such a good marketer. It's insane. I can't. That is like the craziest marketing I've ever heard of.
Oh, we didn't send it to him. We've never given this guy the book. I'm trying to say whoever got the book, and there is, go a little bit lower.
Now, I want to know if you read this
number 7.
So
this is from TMZ.
Or after.
But by the way, here's the interesting thing. When the event happened, the day we looked at him, he was following 72 Twitter accounts, if you can go to it, Rob. And it was some interesting people he followed. So it's not like he's following, hardcore leftists, all that stuff. That's the part where you're wondering what is the accounts he's... so Ezra Klein, keep going a little bit lower. So you got some of these names that you're looking at. Okay.
Yeah, NASA,
Sam Altman, Snowden,
of course,
AOC, Hyde, myself, RFK Jr.,
Brett Weinstein.
So the mixture of people, John McAfee, Dawkins, Steve-O, Rogan, right? It's a very interesting collection of people. And it's not like he follows 20,000 people, right? He's following, Trevor Noah, some of these other guys. So it's just interesting that's
so
out there.
How do you process this, PBD? Like, it's so weird accolade.
Can I ask you a question?
This is weird.
This is very weird.
What would be one of his next 5 moves if you're just in prison? Like, stay away from Bubba. Don't, do you know what I mean? Watch your ass. Like, what do you...
Consider becoming a neo-Nazi? I don't know how the gangs are working, but you probably need protection.
I wonder what his...
I got to give you credit, PBD. This is a story. If my name was on
Sunni
it,
or
this
Shiite?
would be
What do I pick?
Buried on the bottom of the pile. You're like, hey guys, shout out,
very
Luigi.
Book.
Next
Wow.
5 moves.
Book.
Congratulations.
It just shows.
That's
congrats, Pat.
At least you didn't read the book before.
Can you imagine? Congratulations. It's like, not really, though. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Hey guys, if you need a good summer read this summer, your next 5 moves. It's so
moves,
hot right now.
Is out there. It is what it is. I thought it was an interesting story. Who sent it? Did you send it to me first? Who sent it to me first?
I didn't. It wasn't me. Maybe Umberto or somebody.
Yeah, somebody sent it to me, and then we went through it. All right. Is there any story we haven't covered that we should? Because, Rob, we have nothing else till next weekend.
Iran.
Are we going to go to war?
Let's do that one. Okay, let's do that one. U.S. to pull some personnel from Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran. Okay. President Donald Trump announced on Wednesday the partial evacuation of U.S. personnel from the Middle East, stating they are being moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and emphasized they can't have a nuclear weapon, very simple, and they can't have a nuclear, amidst stalled nuclear talks with Iran. U.S. intelligence reports of Israel preparing strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. The State Department Wednesday advisory noted on June 11th, the Department of State ordered departure of non-emergency U.S. government personnel due to heightened regional tensions, authorizing voluntary departure from Bahrain and Kuwait, with Reuters reporting a planned evacuation of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. The U.S. military presence in the region, including bases in Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and UAE, faces increased risk, with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth authorizing voluntary departure military dependence primarily from Bahrain, as a U.S. official confirmed. Michael, thoughts?
Well, it was bound to happen, wasn't it? Don't we all have to bomb some Middle Eastern country every single... I remember in 1998, I was 8 years old, and we were bombing Iraq. And I asked my mother why we're bombing Iraq, and she said, "Micah, every American president has to bomb Iraq. That's just the true story." That's what she said.
What does she do?
My mother, she's since passed, but she was like a
hear.
headhunter. She was not like snipe, like in person. And but she had a good political. She had worked in politics too, and so I'm not surprised by this. What is most notable about this to me is today. No, I don't care how confident people sound. Nobody knows what Trump is going to do, what Trump is going to allow the State of Israel to do. No one knows really what's going to happen. And that is the Trump foreign policy. The ones who say he's a total dove and an isolationist, they are just wrong. The ones who say that he's a complete hawk and a neocon, they're obviously wrong. Trump is the guy who is a total dove, says we got to end the wars in the Middle East, we got to pull our troops home, and then goes and kills the top Iranian general. And he knows it too. So that is his strategy. And it's how, when it was reported that he said to Putin, hey, if you invade Ukraine on my watch, I'll bomb Moscow. Even if Putin thinks that's a 5% chance that happens, it's a 5% chance. You can't take that risk. So no one who tells you with confidence what is going to happen knows what he's talking about. However, it does seem likely to me there has been a major war cry for war in Iran. At the very least, for the U.S. to allow Israel to do something, which is probably why we're evacuating the embassies. There is zero public appetite for a war in Iran. Two things I'll tell you that are true. There is zero public appetite for that. Yep. Trump's base will be furious if something occurs that could be interpreted as the U.S. going to war in Iran and committing troops there. No appetite. Okay, and Trump's political career and the new coalition he formed was formed in large part because he opposed the Iraq War. The other side is Trump is an imperialist, and he's a tough guy, and he's not a libertarian, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. That is not him. That's some of his supporters. That's not him. He also will not allow Iran to get a nuclear bomb on his watch because he also thinks that would be detrimental to his legacy. He won't let that happen. He's got to be the tough guy in the room. What that means for U.S. policy. Though. Say it again.
Those two ideas collide.
They collide. They do collide.
They're opposites.
Yes.
It's going to be tough with this one here. Tom, your thoughts on this?
Well, when those two ideas collide, you allow Mossad and Israel off the leash. It's very simple.
That might be happening now.
Yep. And I think am I predicting that? Kinda. Do I know that? Obviously not. But those two angles, Mike, I think you summarize those perfectly. And he's an imperialist this way. I'm going to go out, I'm like Churchill and says, what does Parliament think? Shut up, I'll be right back. It's just, that's the imperialist side. And then the other side is, I'm not going to let them have a bomb. Yeah. And so if it's really just centrifuges, he's got to listen to somebody other than the CIA. They're moments away. They're wiring a button at this very moment because that's what you're going to get out of Nikki Haley, the military-industrial complex, and the CIA. So he's got to turn to it. Well, where do you go? Well, Israel knows that they have to stay tough, but they also know that they just can't be at a constant state of bombing everything around them and cause a coalition attack. They don't want that. But could they be surgical, and could you take them off the leash and say, okay, Bibi, Mossad, this is what we're going to do here? I think that's the play.
Adam.
I think there's three main players here. There's Iran, there's Israel, the United States. And I think the United States is trying to get a deal done. If there's anything we know about Trump, it's let's make a deal. And if you believe any of the reports here of what's going on in Iran right now, there's no deal in sight. Trump says Iran much more aggressive in nuclear talks. It's disappointing. Satellite photos reveal Iran's nuke program is still going on, vanishing roads and AI drones.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
So Trump's trying to get a deal done, and Iran's like basically saying, F you. So now Trump is saying, okay, like, do you think Trump has a better relationship with Bibi Netanyahu or the Ayatollahs? Rhetorical question. You don't have to answer that. Obviously, it's Bibi. And I think at some point, Trump said, okay, we're not getting a deal done here. They're not coming to the table with anything. All right, listen, I don't know what's going to happen. I know that I don't want a war. I don't want that my people want a war. So here's what I'm going to do. All the Americans, get the F out. Israel, you do what you got to do. I don't want a war. I don't need a war. Don't call me if you do this. But if you do this, this is your decision. Consult, great. I don't want any American troops here.
But the U.S. embassies are going to get hit.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, that's why they're getting out of there. Because if you know anything about Israel's doctrine regarding Iran, while Iran is shouting death to America, death to Israel, with a clock that says destruction of Israel, Israel's sitting there being like, I really don't want to have to blow you mother suckers up. I really don't. But the one doctrine is preemptive strike. The best defense is a good offense, you know, they say in sports, or the best offense is a good defense, however you want to look at it. So they have three major components. They have number one, which is called the Begin doctrine, like Menachem Begin. And it's basically, if we're about to get nuked, get them first. That's numero uno. And then, you know, Bibi said a famous line, talking about Obama, about the famous red line. He said, red lines aren't meant to be drawn, they're meant to be enforced. If you do this nuclear thing, we're going to attack you. Straight up. Number two is the imminent threat, self-defense, which is essentially like a derivative of what number one is. And number three is we need to protect the neighborhood. And this is going to be a little controversial take. Israel's been fighting wars with everyone around them. And they all attacked first, right? The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, and they go bing, ding, bing, bing, destroyed them all. Also took down Syria. And now they're looking at Iran and being like, what have you ever won, bro? All you do is fund people to fight for you. And now they're all done. And now I'm like, what's up, homie? And Iran is like, oh, what are you going to do now? What's a war that Iran has won since 1979? I don't know, Iraq in the 80s? I don't know. So I think Israel's looking at saying, I don't want to do this, but we're going to strike them before they strike us. That's my opinion.
Well, here's what Trump said when he was asked about it, Rob. You know, removing soldiers. Here's President Trump.
Moved out because it could be a dangerous place, and we'll see what happens. But we've given notice to move out, and we'll see what happens.
Is there anything that can be done to dial the temperature down in the region?
They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that.
By the way, when he was, when they were negotiating with Obama, you know how long it took him to get the deal done? 2 years. So you know what Iran has? Patience. They're like, yeah, we're going to take our time. But they're dealing with a different guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles this year going there.
Put yourself in Iran's position, though. If you're the mullahs and you say, okay, America, I know, you never want to put yourself in the position of the mullahs. But if you're them, you say, okay, you're telling me that you won't swap out my regime as long as I give up my nuclear program. Isn't that what you told Gaddafi? Like, how did it turn out for Gaddafi? I don't want to end up like Gaddafi. So I
at the end of the street, killed by your own people?
Yeah. And some of the stories were pretty gory, right?
Oh, yeah. It's horrifying.
So if you're them, I understand. You know, it's, again, when I think about the libs in America, when I think about the mullahs in Iran, you can't just say, well, they're just total crazy lunatics. Yeah, sure, there's some of that. But from their perspective, or Vladimir Putin for that matter, from their perspective, what are they supposed to do? They cannot give up all of their enrichment and expect to stay in power.
Yeah. I never today expected you to say you wanted to one day wear a turban and like. You know, I was not expecting that.
I had no idea.
When we were being briefed
on,
I was not expecting that. But you know what? You're right. It is true that they don't trust America, and why would they? I can visualize them saying, "Who the hell are you to tell us we can't have a nuclear weapon?" Okay, great. So now
you're gonna find out.
What are you gonna do about it? So that's the part where what you're saying, he's in a very tough place.
Yeah,
the president is in a very tough place, and you know you can like imagine how nuclear got with him and Musk. Okay, yeah, that was nuclear. Lasted how long? 4 days, 5 days, 6 days of nuclear, and it went like this, boom, and then it was boom, right? And it's kind of like done. We're moving on to the next story. But if this goes nuclear, it's not a nuclear because it's a analogy you're using, it's going nuclear. No, it could go nuclear, and it could get very, very nasty with them. Nobody in the world wants it. So Iran is not one that is, is not willing to go there because they don't look at their people the way Americans will look at our people. They look at their people in a very different way. Yeah. And if Israel gets involved and they go to war, and then they come back saying, I need weapons, I need money, how he's going to handle it's going to be very interesting because he's probably already told Bibi, hey, man, if you go there, you're on your own. So I don't know what that call sounds like either.
Is the Shah getting ready to come back? Is your fingers itching?
For him to come back? Yeah. No, I don't know. After my multiple interviews with him, I don't think he wants to go back to Iran. And I know he's getting a lot of momentum right now. But for Iran to have, the democracy that they're looking for, somebody needs to go back. Yes. And I don't know if that's going to be taking place. Anyways, we're at the end of the podcast. I got to wrap up because I got a call in 15 minutes. And I have to tell you, really, really enjoyed having you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
First time we interacted was at the Spotify event.
That's right, the inauguration.
Yeah, and I was sitting there watching. We're in a room. It's us. It's Lex Friedman. Yeah. It's Chamath. It's the All In guys. Yep. It's who else am I missing?
The Blaze was there.
The Nelk boys. Our
Walsh
boys Kyle.
Walsh is there. Yeah. I don't think Nelk was there.
Everybody.
But no, we're specifically talking on the Spotify dinner that we're having.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was such a great. It was, they should have recorded it because it was so fascinating watching how everybody was openly talking. But I was just watching you and sizing you up, and I said, freaking like this guy, because your Daily Wire. Oh my God, Daily Wire. The valuetainment, Candace, the mentorship, all this stuff that comes out, and we have. I've said my stuff about the company and all the other things that we've had, but the conversation with Matt Walsh, you could tell Matt Walsh was a little bit standoffish. Just like, whoa, I don't know about you. He was very guarded.
Listen, I'm one of Matt's best friends. Yeah. He's standoffish with me. We're sitting having a cigar. He's very,
But I tell you, when I watched you, I'm like, this is just a cool guy. And good for him. So here's what we want to do, guys. If you loved him as much as we loved him, go support him. He's got a cigar company called the Mayflower.
Nice.
Okay, that he was kind enough to bring me a box here. And, this is the Mayflower cigar. Maybe next time we do it, maybe we do a live event at the Cigar Lounge.
That sounds
and
great.
Folks get a chance to try the cigar. What is the website, Rob? It says Mayflower Cigars.
Cigars.com.
Go to Mayflower Cigars. We'll put the link below. Support the man if you like cigars. And this was great, and we're looking forward to having you again.
Well, thank you. I look forward to a cigar the next time.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.